またここにいるわけ？
頑張るって決めたからね。
それはいいんだけど、なんでここでやるの？しかもなんでもう一人いるの？
ミラクと一緒にいたいからね。
いやだからってなんでここに集まってくるわけ？
ねえクリス、私のダンスどうだった？踊ってた。いやそうだけど、もっとダメ出しとか、ここはこうした方がいいよとか教えてよ。一緒に踊りながら教えてあげる。本当に？やったー。
だからよそでやってくれないかな。枕にするのやめてくれない？
いいじゃん、疲れてんだし。
よくない。
クリスすごい。なんで疲れてないの？疲れてるよ。私ももっと体力つけなきゃ。よし、もう一回。ミラクはどうしてそんなに頑張るの？どうしてって、この前言われたでしょ、マイルに。私甘かったなって思ったんだ。言い訳なんてしてる暇が必死に練習して今の最高の自分を見せないとダメだよね。
This is the true master of the space station. Genius Society number 83, Herda.
At least give me a
普通の家に生まれて普通の両親に育てられて、
let's
今も
so.
普通車だったし、ずっと普通に生活して
I'll
き
have
て
to take a
自信
good
の持
look.
てるものなんて何もなかった。
Hmm.
でも
It's
愛ちゃんに出会って
You're
バーチャルアーティストの世界を知って
that's
ここな
can
ら
I
普
bring
通の
That's
私でも
not.
なりたい自分になれる。
You
きっと輝
understand?
ける。
And after
そう思ったの。
the express has, we can come.
well, yes, just bring
There's
だ
no.
から
I'll be
私は
waiting.
頑
Come
張
find
る。
me when you.
それが私の存在証明だから。存在証明。なんてちょっと大げさかな。じゃあ特訓の続き、クリスよろしくね。もう少し白の頭を意識してみたらどうかな。なるほど、やってみる。どう？だいぶ上達したね。本当に？クリスが教えてくれたおかげだよ。
There you are.
But
Who's waiting for enough eons? How would they create?
もう
Well, in the 4G, I call it. Oh, really? Now go.
じゃあステージで踊ってくるから見ててね。まだ道をつなぐんだ、透き通る風見つけ出す未来へ。
It's too late to repent.
どうだった？今の最高の自分出し切ったって感じ。Watch this！ 一番良かったとこ。本当に？やったー！じゃあ悪かったところは？ You're annoying！ もっともっと上手くなりたいから教えて。
Listen, it's better vision.
じゃあパフォーマンス以外でもいいから気になるところない？トーク。トーク？どんなところが？まるまるはどう思う？
あんまり見てないからわからないけど、
遠慮はいらないから言ってみて。
可もなく不可もなくっていうか、特に盛り上がりどころがないっていうか。
見てない割にシビア。
それでもコメントしろと言われたら普通だよね、普通だよね。
Step aside. I have no interest in stoking conflict.
ダンスを褒められたのにここまで
Right there while I give you a present. Check out this awesome move.
もう ドリブ力も高いし声も明るくて可愛いしね。はいどうも、キズナアイです。今日はゲーム実況をやります。フリーズ。どう似てる？どうしたらアイちゃんみたいにうまく話せるんだろう。特訓って何やればいいのか。Watch this! 何かアイデアあるの？
話してくれない。
なんで？
落ち着かないんだけど。
大丈夫、私はすごい落ち着くよ。トーク動画たくさん配信してみるのは。動画をダンスだって何度も上手くなったから。
You can't run!
たくさんやれば出るかも。でも一人で何話そうか。
This sanctuary is but a vision.
ミラクルはミラドー。苦手なことを克服するため今日からトーク動画を
With me out here, how could we lose?
みんなよろしくね。
Check out this awesome move!
バーチャルアーティストグリッドです。よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。今からビシバシ質問してくからしっかり答えてね。
Try that again!
そうだな。元気？
You can't run!
じゃあ
The time is
今
now.
日授業楽しかった？そうだ、バーチャルグリッドアワードの課題が発表されたね。
Stay right there while I give you a present!
お互い You're annoying!
Watch this awesome move!
元気？緊張した。
話してくれない。
そういえば今までゲスト呼んでトークなんてしたことなかったしな。何か緊張しない方法ないかな。人に質問するんじゃなくて自分で質問に答えたら。あ、それだ。はい、バーチャルアーティストのミラクです。今回のトーク企画は質問に答えてみた。
Crush now?
ってことでみんなが送ってくれた質問に答えまくっていきます。それじゃあ質問はこれ。
Rules are made to be
で
broken.
一番嬉しかったことは何ですか？はい、これはで
This
すね。
sanctuary is but a vision.
一番
You can't run! Try that again! Watch this awesome move!
This sanctuary is but a vision.
どうも。
Try that again!
ありがとうございます。やっぱりホッとする。いえ。あ、
何かあった？いつもはもっとおしゃべりだから。
あ、そっか。そうですよね。
別に何もないならいいけど。
本当は得意じゃないんです。おしゃべり。
そうなの？
得意じゃないっていうか普通っていうか、
普通。
見てる人に楽しんでもらうために話すって難しいんだなって悩んでます。
そうなんだ。
はい。
僕も人と話すのはあまり得意じゃないから。でも
Wanna go take some pictures?
あ、いえ、大丈夫です。っていうかすみません。それなのに私いつも話しかけちゃって。
そういうつもりじゃ。
本当ですか？
うん。
なんでだろう。理由は はわからないけど、ここに来たら少し前に進める気がしたんです。
So, have you?
あ
So,
紅茶
have you?
ごちそうさまでした。美
Then
味しかっ
come
た
with
です。
me.
そう。
はい、おかげでもう少し頑張れそうです。じゃあ失礼します。
I'll be waiting
Time to get on.
till we make it.
また失敗した。ミラクのエクストリームトーク。タイトルはいいけど、何をもってエクストリームなのか話してて全然わかんなかったよ。
Journey.
っていうか、コメントがエクストリームしちゃってるよ。
Hey, Himiko told Pom Pom sure there has since you chose Pom Pom.
怖い。ショックで片言になってる。
てか握らないでくれる？
だって落ち着くんだもん。
肉球みたいに。
もういい。もうトーク苦手なままでいいよ。
普通は嫌なんじゃなかったの？言ってたよね。この世界ならなりたい自分になれるって。
そうだけど、
確かにこのバーチャルの世界は何にでもなれるし何でもできる。でも時間はリアルと一緒でどんどん過ぎていく。苦手だからって立ち止まるなんて超普通じゃない？
分かったよ。もう少し頑張ってみる。愛ちゃんみたいになりたいから。
うん。
ってことでトーク頑張ってやっていくんですけど、頑張るといえば昔バーチャル力士になるため頭にバーチャルシリコン入れた人いましたよね。そんなあなたはガンバーチャル。アイムミラク。
はあ？メオク？
ノーミルク。あなたドリンク。私思ったんですよ。嫌だな、怖いな、変だな、おかしいなって。でも勇気を出して扉を開けてみた。そしたら、何なの？頑張る方向間違ってる。自由。
Here already? You reckon? Hima, that also got mod. Pom Pom still, no matter where. Himiko likes you. Well, likes collecting.
疲れてる。昨日遅くまで起きてて、こんなコメントをくれた人がいたの。自由全開って感じ。こ
There seems
れ
to
を見て気づいたんだ。ここはなりたい自分になれる世界。愛ちゃんみたいに
Can
な
I
りたく
help
て
you?
自由に
Feel
いろいろ
free.
やってきた
While
つも
many
り
of
だった
I
け
answer
ど、
the collect, did you see the
け
terminal
ど
open?
実際は愛ちゃんみたいにってことにとらわれてたのかも。
あれか？
本当はもっと自由に、私のやりたいようにでよかったんだよ。やりたいこと見つかったの？うん。私がのびのび自由に喋れる企画。大丈夫？緊張しない？ああ、それが問題だよね。何かリラックスして喋れる方法があればいいんだけど。こんにちは、ミラクです。今日は緊張しないようにリラックスムードでトークしたいと思います。
make a choice I
だ
won't
から
regret.
ってなんで僕が？
今回私が喋りたいテーマはこちら。キズナ愛ちゃんです。愛ちゃんの魅力について語りたいと思います。愛ちゃんのすごいところは歌がうまい、ダンスがうまい、トークが面白い、
Tiny
かわい
bonus.
い、顔も声も動きももうとにかく全部かわいい。でも一番の魅力は の子に勇気を与えてくれるところです。私は別に何の取り柄もない普通の女の子でした。でもある日ステージで
Okay,
歌う愛ちゃん
everyone.
を見て、
Hurry up and find a
こん
pom-pom's
な風
going
に
to...
なりたい、この人みたいに輝きたい、そう思ったんです。愛ちゃんは普通の女の子に夢を見させてくれる、夢に向かって頑張る勇気をくれる、そんなとってもすごいバーチャルアーティストなんです。そんな愛ちゃんにこの言葉届けー。愛ちゃん、私
The universe. The
頑張るよ。
Astral Express.
どう？届いたかな？
Eons. Did I get dragged into a science fiction movie or something?
せっかくうまく話
This
せたと思った。
Stellaron thing. In my body?
Stars?
大丈夫じゃないよ。
I've done stuff like that before,
すごいことになってる。
but
やだ。
it wasn't stars for me though. It was lights.
ミラクアテレコ選手権。
When I first woke up after the whole crew was watching.
バーチャルオートミールやバーチャルフィットネスで
Oh,
バーチャルダイエット。
before all this, I'm Himeko
ま
and
るまるの声。
I don't remember who I am. Ever since then, I've been hanging out on this train and following it to whatever destination. What am I talking about this
これから迷惑系
for?
バ
A
ー
way
チ
to
ャ
get
ルアーティスト
everyone.
として
頑張るよ。愛ちゃん、私
Yeah,
頑張る
here
か頑
comes
張ら
the
ないか
conductor.
散らかっといてよ。頑張るよ。
Thanks.
Well,
That's just called never. Conductor, can I get a
もしか
juice,
して
please?
まるまるがあげてくれたの？
音声が切れた時はどうしようかと思ったけどね。
please return to your seat. The train is about to make the jump. Hold on, everyone.
別に大したことしてない
I
よ。
won't fall over. 5, 4,
私、まるまるがいてくれたから頑張れたわよ。
確かにこのバーチャルの世界は何にでもなれるし、時間はリアルと一緒でどんどん過ぎていく。苦手だからって立ち止まるなんて超普通じゃない？
All those. Well,
は
まるまるが
yes.
ああ言ってくれたから
Looks like this trailblazing expedition won't be easy.
大したことじゃないと
Speed
思
out
う
anomaly. Star rate schedule
もっ
alteration.
ともっと頑張ろう。
7-day stopover time extended indefinitely.
いきなり寝てるし。
だって配信終わったもん。休憩休憩。
Hmm.
だからって枕
The
にするの
complex
やめてくれ
locality of this world has
いい
been
じゃん。
Take an ordinary train. The only sensible thing.
If we try to force this again, don't tell me. It's gotta be.
The results of the preliminary analysis are here. The anomaly stems from Stellaron, as always. Yes, just like the one that's been placed into your body.
エリアスとお揃いじゃない。
これはエリアス
Don't
が
worry.
つけて
It's
たの？
not the first time our Stellarons are cloud.
The only thing we can say for sure is that their arrival causes massive changes to civilization. There must be...
Our current theory is that Stellarons are seeds of disaster, planted by a certain eon throughout the universe. We can't continue to trailblaze without removing the...
この感じ。
That we've gotta get.
あれ？ステラ。
I'd like to entrust this trailblazing expedition. The objective is clear.
Awesome. We get to work as a team again.
久々に人を呼んだからきちんと呼べたか不安だった。
Because you three made a great team.
よかった。ちゃんとついて。
I know you really want to go, but we should give the youngsters a chance to get out there on March if you two are ready. He's probably already started collating the ecological data and survey results for your
好きに
Relo
呼ぶ
6.
といい。
杖がいたんですが。
大丈夫。お友達は霧の中で少し迷う程度だ。弱いものじゃないの。あれにあげたループ体を
Are you doing
違う
okay
誰か
after
が持っている
dizziness or-
気配がしたから
I went through the
気づ
express.
かなかったんだけど。
He said so. I've
Yeah,
conducted.
so
If I had to choose, you knew. Don't worry. I assume. I see.
もしかして
Did
リー
you
デルさん
talk
の
to
先生
Don
です
Huh?
か？
Relax. Well, are you ready?
嬉しいな。あれは
When
元
I
気なの
first
か
saw this planet, I thought, still, the ice that trapped me was six-phased ice, a very rare substance. I don't think you can find it on your average planet. To be honest, I think I'd be kind of annoyed if I found out this.
What?
Nah, I was just imagining all the fun we're gonna have here.
I feel sorry for this world. First the Stellaron, and now you.
All right, here comes the Eurilo 6 Trailblaze team.
Eurilo 6.
You're really...
Or the Trailblaze path.
Snow is...
Based on the coordinates.
Then what are we waiting for? Let's go! Oh, please stop.
Unless you enjoy.
I said drop it.
Remember,
Calm down. I mean, come on. So if people start... So, how long? Let's go.
this place still hasn't been corroded. Yet fragmentum monsters have already. Too late to repent.
Watch this awesome move!
新生活が始まったんだろ
You couldn't have done it without me.
お祝い方々さ
助かる
しては
今はステラといる呼ぼうか
いやいいよあの子にとって大事な時間だろうからね
そうなのか
元気になってよかったじゃないかあんたのループ隊チセからのクリスマスプレゼントだろあんたのは
今はチセが
そっかそっか昔あんたにあれが欲しいなんてわがまま言ったっけ
あの時は手放していいかとも感じたけどできなかったんだ
それをどうしてチセにあげたんだい
あの人が魔法の先生で私は弟子です
その割に仲良く見えたけれど
チセはあいつの人間の先生で
人間の先生
嫁さんだ
嫁それあれから言い出したのかい
はい
あいつまさかよかったら中でお話をあれの弟子で
The sanctuary is but a vision.
そういう場所なんだ
I don't want to be
Rules are made to be broken.
Who will it be? Oh, stars, give these trailblazers your blessing.
The sanctuary is but a vision. The sanctuary is but a vision.
Who will it be?
Rules are made to be broken.
But I want to know.
So this is
るっていうのは本当かもね。二人ともこんな小さい頃にここに来たんだよ。
エリアスもですか？
ああ、しばらくここで暮らしてたことがあるんだ。
リンデルさんと別れた後はそのまま旅暮らしだったのかと。
ここはどの時間やどの土地とも切り離されているくせにどことも地続きの場所だからきっとまた会えるだろうと思っていたけど、あれは疲れ切ったように肩を落として現れた。エリアス、リンデルと一緒にいたんだよ。
教えてほしい。
Scared yet? I told you I could fight.
人間はたくさんいすぎて、みんな同じものに違いすぎて、
This is our chance.
僕はどうすればいいかわからない。誰を真似していいかわからない。だからあなたを模倣させて、あなたの真似ができたらきっと僕は人間の中でうまくやっていける。
Step aside. I have no interest in stoking conflict.
人間が好きなんだよ。
Scared yet? Look out! I told you I could fight.
なってみたいんだ。
With me out here, how can we lose?
Let's make it quick.
数年か数十年かエリアスはここに住んで私を真似た。
You're annoying! You can't run!
眠り方
It's too late to repent.
本の読み方も畑の方も物への触れ方もだけど真似させてやれないこともある。
ラハブ、笑うとかをしてどうやって
My turn.
筋肉がないとダメか。
動かし
Stay
て
right there while I give you a present.
それで終わったことになるさ。
Let's go.
楽しい。
Take this!
It's too late to repent.
そしてある時あれはもう戻ってこなかった。
Look out!
それからは会ってないんだ。元気そうでよかった。
Watch this!
だからエリアスはラハブさん。
Clemency? Never heard of it.
だけど私はなかった教師のなり損ないなんだよ。
Scared yet? Gotta try hard sometimes. Check out this awesome move!
助けを信頼さ
Scared yet?
A gift from the stars.
ここの関係は
You have the worst luck running into me.
お嫁さん。
With me out here, how can we lose?
Let's make it quick.
痛い相手君が一緒にいたい
Try that again.
完璧だと思った相手。お嫁さんじゃなくてもお婿さん、妻、夫、どう呼んでもいい。いわゆる婚約者のことだ。
You can't run.
Rules are made to be broken.
すごくいい家はかな。
ラハブは僕のお嫁さん。
私は違うよ。
Decisive strike!
君だけのお嫁さんを見つけなさい。
Step aside. I have no interest.
やばー。あの段階ではあれが最大の説明だったと思ってほしい。
わかります。ラハブ
Stay right there while I give you a present.
ありがとう。
Let's go.
あれはそういうことだったんだ。
がっかりしただろう。あの子の
Try that again.
君が抱く
Clemency? Never heard of it. The time is now.
チセがヨセフと戦って傷を負って眠り続けていた時、どうして
The truth of life and death
自分が
revealed in an
行
instant.
動するんだろう。
心配なんて
This sanctuary is but a vision.
最初の頃は死ななければ大丈夫だろうって考えていたけど、
Look
今は
out.
小さな傷は軽い病気の
I
ように
told you I could fight.
ル ルーツが知性は大
This
事
is
な
our
ものを
chance.
持っている。知性自身が大事に思っているものは自分も同じように大事にされると思っている。だから自分が傷ついた時それを見た誰かも傷つくなんて想像できないし、自分の痛みを渡す気も。自分の痛みは自分だけのものだと思っている。
Try that again!
Step aside. I have no interest in stoking conflict.
壊れたらこの
The time is now.
自分に持っていてほしい。
Scared yet?
大事なものなら
Who's the lucky one today? I told ya I could fight.
Let's make it quick. Just a scratch.
そう思ってもらわないと中に穴を開けてもらっちゃ困
I
るんだ。
remember inviting you.
わかりました。預かります。
My turn.
自分を
Watch this!
Let's go. Take this!
なんだニヤニヤして。
お嫁さん。普段あんまり機能してることがそうなんだ。
Scared yet?
お嫁さんでもそうじゃなくて、
Look out!
この人のそばにい
I
る。
told ya I could fight. Gotta try hard sometimes. Check out this awesome move!
自分で感じてないで、ちゃんと笑ってる。
I told ya I could fight.
意外と怒るし、
With me out here, how can we lose?
困ることも嫉妬もするし、それもきっと多分なんですけど、最近はワクワクしてるみたいなんです。そうか、そう見えるのか。いい出会いをしたんだね。あれはうまく言えないんですけど、エリアスは家とか食べ物とか本当は興味がなくて、でも住んでる家が庭も綺麗にして、
Scared
畑
yet?
も耕してて、ちゃんと残ってたの。それは多分ラハルさんの真似をしたからで、そんなエリアスは私はだからきっとすぐ
You're annoying! You can't run!
The truth of life and death with this sanctuary is but a vision. Clemency? Never heard of it.
安心して自分自身を救いなさい。
エリアスと私を
Scared
助
yet?
けてくれてありがとうございます。
I told ya I could fight. Stand right there while I give you a present.
Let's make it quick.
君がエリアス
Take this!
また来ますね。
私と会ったこと
But I want to know
ない
more.
からなぜ心配とはいえ監視のようなことをしたし、それに君も秘密と事実、真実なることを知るべきだ。
Step aside. I have no interest in stoking conflict.
You have the worst luck running into me. With me out here, how can we lose?
Let's go. Rules are made to be broken. Decisive strike! This is our chance.
ステラ、なんか今一瞬すごい霧じゃなかった？
Clemency? Never heard of it. The time is now.
This is our chance.
This can't be.
エリアス、本当にこんなにのんびりしてて大丈夫なんですか？
問題ないよ。裏道を使うって言っただろ。
裏道。
つなぎ役が来たみたいだ。
いやー、遅れちまって。群れに戻ったらそろそろ結婚しろだのなんだの引き止められてさ。さてと、裏道自体はね、いろんなとこにあるんでさ。古い空き家や庭の出入り口、倒れた木の下や根元のうろ、使われてねえ小さな橋やフットパスの門、こんなものもね。
電話ボックス。
まあ、あっしも普段はこういう特別な裏道は使わないけどね。
どうしてですか？
危ないから。手を離さねえで。はぐれたらどうなるかわかんねえからね。
裏道はこの世のチャンネルの一部だ。
俺たちは人間がいねえのを裏道とか言うけどね。ここはちょっと特殊。
時間とか座標がかなり歪んでるから入り口と出口
Step
の
aside.
大きく
I have no interest in stepping.
Scared yet? I told ya I could fight.
そうそう。
他の魔法使いもよく使う。
Let's make it quick.
どうかな。
俺はやめといた方がいい。俺はあいつらと契約してるけど。
Reach the end of the story in your own
わか
way.
んねえですもん。
あいつら。
そら、匂いを嗅ぎつけてきましたぜ。厄介な門番が。
Holding your breath
俺
won't
たちは
I
猟犬
got
って
this
呼ん
one.
でる。
Someone's got their.
よ兄弟、さっき俺たちが入った場所から出ていく場所まで毎日通りてえって御人がいる。ここは荒さねえし通行料も用意した。どうか通してやっちゃくれないか。
Captain
Who?
Wait, you're not Silvermane guards? Well, why didn't you say so? Turns out we're on the same side after all. Pleasure to meet you. The name's Sampo Koski.
破ったら
Excellent, I'll remember. Say, why don't we join forces? Come now, friends. Then again, anyway, a meeting like this, you really don't. Seems like you guys really are new to the business. There are ways of doing things.
No need. Why don't you just take us to the city?
Already? But it would be my pleasure. Kindness is Sampo Koski's middle name. Follow me, friends.
So why were you hiding from the Silvermane guards?
Yeah, we're just storing a few relics away from prying eyes. Nothing serious. If it weren't for the uncompromising nature of our civil service, there'd be no need for secrecy. So whereabouts you guys from, anyway? I don't mean to pry or anything. Rule number 7, never leave a footprint. I have my own special technique called invisible snow walking. Helps me throw off pursuers in...
Who are they?
Help me, old friends! It's now or never. Over to you, dear friends.
あなたはどうして
Hey, where do you think
私
you're?
をお嫁さんにするつもりだの？
I don't remember inviting you. You have the worst luck running into me.
Let's go.
Clemency? Never heard of it. The time is now.
Look out! Watch this!
Step aside. I have no interest in...
Scared yet? My turn.
Let's make it quick. Take this!
A guest with no manners. You have the worst luck running into me. With me out here, how can we lose?
Let's go.
You're annoying!
Clemency? Never heard of it. The time is now.
I, Japard Landau, captain of the Silvermane Guards, order you to relinquish your futile resistance.
That Sampo cheated us all. Wait till I get my hands on him.
Suspect, relinquish your resistance.
So I'm a criminal, huh? Forget Sampo. Wait until I get my hands on you. My turn. Stay right there while I give you a present.
Let's make it quick. Rules are made to be broken.
Stay focused. Take courage.
You can't run.
The truth of life and death. With this sanctuary is but a vision.
A guest with no manners, huh? You have the worst luck running into me. Watch this! Gotta try hard sometimes. Check out this awesome move!
Let's go. Take this!
It's too late to repent.
Look out! My turn. With me out here, how can we lose?
Let's make it quick.
Step aside. I have no interest in stoking conflict. The time is now.
I don't remember inviting you.
Let's go.
This ends here! And the prime suspect?
Apologies, Captain.
No matter. I'm a captain, not gonna take them away.
潜在写真も
But
立
we're
派
not
な仕
from
事だぞ。
ですが、この前から基礎ばかりですよね。
基礎は大事だろ。
私たち本当にデビューできるのかしら。
Silence.
As you
みんな
were.
言いたいことはわかる。
Exactly.
でも今は任せてくれ。
You've probably never
I
seen
ろいろと
what
準
your
備してる
planet
から
looks
な。
like, right? I took this one.
緊張しないで自由にポーズ取っていいんだね。
It is said that
But these people.
this decision is beyond us. If what they our job is to present outsiders, follow me. Belobog lies beyond this blizzard.
楽しみだね。そうだね。
プロデューサーさん、チェックお願いします。
はい。
Welcome to Belobog.
さんの衣装も可愛いです。みんなのとっておきでございます。
なんかうまそうな匂いするな。
これ一ノ瀬四季がミューズの新作よ。
誰？
はあ？嘘でしょあんた。有名なのか？有名どころじゃないわよ。Hey, it feels like it got a bit warmer. あちこちでこのポスター見てるでし
That's
ょ。
because you're in Belobog, the last bastion of humanity.
Last Bastion?
700 years ago, monsters from beyond the sky set the world ablaze. In the midst of the conflict, the steadfast architects.
You sure say.
A marked change in tone.
Uh-huh.
You wanted to know.
セクシーに決めてくるわ。
おう、頼んだぞ。市原さんもそろそろ準備しておいてくれ。的場さんの次だからな。
みんなはもう準備バッチリでございます。
ああ、でも着替えたり
We
する
saw
の？
strange creatures outside the city.
すごい。
They must have come from a tear in corroded space.
えっと、
A fragmento, correct?
The guards will notice if we stray too far.
市原さん、あのな。これは潜在写真って言ってみんなの顔を見てもらうためのものなんだ。だからその。
どうしてもダメでございますか？
いや。
着ぐるみ脱いだらプロデューサー一緒に写真写ってくれるですか？
We're here.
それはちょっと
This is Klipoth
難
Fort,
しい
the heart of Belobog and headquarters of the architects.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3.
ダンスって難しいよね。みんな足がこんがらがっちまったですよ。
みんなよかったぞ。的場さんは指先の表現が丁寧だな。
あら、意外とよく見てるじゃないロリコン。
そういう言葉を使うんじゃない。
ま、この調子で一足先に一人でデビューね。
一人は寂しいでございますよ。
いや、そういう意味じゃないんだよ。
市原さんは一人じゃないぞ。
でも今リサちゃんが一人でデビューって。
ごめん、別件の打ち合わせだ。みんなは先に事務所に戻っててくれ。
信じられません。あれはないわね。
きっとプロデューサーさんもいろいろ考えてくれてるんだよ。
あれ、ニナは？
待ってください。
忘れ物はないわよね。
大丈夫でございます。
Klipoth is the symbol to show our reverence. This fortress is also the resident,
The supreme.
the leader of Belobog, the current guardian.
Whoa.
I will now bring you to see Madam.
You've got some snow in your hair, but no.
I've dispatched a messenger to send word.
But that's a meaningless sacrifice. How can you?
Yes, Mother.
Madam Guardian. I have...
The messenger informed me. Welcome. I am... Do you wish me to... The architects remember an eon connected our... So do not be surprised.
Do you...
We came here for something...
A stellar...
Objects that fell from... You mentioned invasion.
Correct.
Stellarons bring up... You can see us as...
Your analysis of our current circumstances is even if this...
You're right.
Yeah, FYI.
You know...
We have the relevant meat.
Very well. It's getting late, and... It should be me. I too need some time. Of course. Do not...
じゃあ一緒に探しに行くか。お家の人にはちゃんと連絡するんだぞ。
It seems that the Supreme Guardian holds you in high regard. I have received orders that your movements are no longer to be...
She's the big shot.
I'm afraid I still...
Wait.
Well, I'd say that I recommend you visit Everwinter Monument first. And if you enjoy music... Oh, and if you're...
So the corrosion isn't...
Yes, we're mounting a resistance.
You know what I need.
Neverwinter Workshop. Hey, didn't Japard say there'd be a
He said you can sometimes catch an outdoor...
Darn. Oh, I'd been wondering. You see that heater over... Normally you'd want a heater inside a building, right? Maybe. Oh!
Tiny heaters are...
You guys sure have a lot to say about that, bro.
Oh, wow, she's cool.
Yeah, touch it and... I forgot to introduce myself. If you got any broken equipment...
Oh, we're
curious. About the heater? It's just a standard geomarrow radiator. Huh? Ah, I figured... What an honor.
Come around and have a look.
そうだぞ。
力になれなくてごめんね。
おまわりさん、ありがとうございました。
どういたしまして。
またお話ししに来るでございますよ。拾われてないということは、人通りの少ない場所で落としたのかもしれません。狭い道を優先的に探してみましょう。How close it is to this.
They hadn't identified it. I bet all the shops and hotels in the vicinity would have had to close down by now.
Move back! The fragmentum...
I can't believe fragment... It sure is.
Please, try to...
If I can't get my...
You get a score this way. Careful. Don't get your goals mixed.
けだぞー。あ、猫ちゃんだ。猫ちゃん。私のパタパタばかり。みんなの着ぐるみ返してください。
僕ら同じ事務所のものでして、拾ってくれてありがとうございます。
君プロデューサー？実はしきちゃん、この子とお友達になっちゃったんだよね。お別れしたくないにゃ。ねえ、君、この子もらっちゃダメ？ちょっと、ダメ？
一ノ瀬さん、
みんなの着ぐるみはすげえんです。魔法ですげえ着ぐるみなんです。それでみんなのパパ海外にいるですよ。ママもお仕事忙しくて。
市原さん。
そっか、それは大変だね。だけど着ぐるみ着てたらいろんな人がニナと遊んでくれるです。アリスちゃんたちもプロデューサーもみんなニナのこと見てくれるです。みんなとレッスンするのすげえ楽しいです。
Wow, look at the...
Whatever it's...
I guess you're right. It's actually pretty warm in the city. Hey, what's with all the children over there? Should we go and take a look?
着ぐるみなしのニナなんて面白くねえですよ。
そんなことない。
プロデューサー？
今日だってどこに行ってもみんな笑顔だっただろ。
でも
市原さん、着ぐるみがすごいんじゃない。市原さんがすごいんだよ。市原さんが元気だからみんなも元気になれるんじゃないか。市原さんは市原さんのままで魅力的なんだよ。
みんなが？
そう。
市原さん、今日事務所を出てからずっと着ぐるみ着ていませんでしたよ。そっか。みんながもっともっと元気だったらパパも喜んでくれるかな。
もちろん。お父さんが世界のどこにいたって市原さんの元気が伝わるようなすっごいアイドルになろう。俺が全力でサポートするからさ。
すげえアイドル。
The heater you saw is just a simple as no sweat. Hey, this is great.
見てくれるですか？
ああ。
そっか。アイドルすげえ。よーし、みんなすっげえアイドルになってでっかく
So
な
that's how
る
it
するです
works.
よ。応援してください。
Nice.
プロデューサー。
Well,
ってあれ、そういえば着ぐるみ一ノ瀬さんたちは？
Come around and have a look.
おかえりなさい。みなちゃん、着ぐるみ見つかったんだね。
Tired.
みんな帰ってなかったのか。
だって心配だったんだもん。家にはきちんと連
Wow,
絡しました
what a... Wanna have a pillow fight
俺に
later?
も連
Huh?
絡してほしかった。
I bet they're stuffed with goose feathers.
みんな、せっかくだし聞いてくれるか？
Earlier in clip...
Stop, I know what you're gonna
夢のステー
say.
ジを目指すんだっ
March,
て言
you
ったろ。
said too much back
だけど
there.
その前に
March, you shouldn't
みん
reveal
な
our
の気持ちを
goals
知
to
りたいん
people
だ。
we don't trust. Meanwhile, you guys were beating around, but check it out. Seems like...
That's...
All right, spit it out.
Earlier in
ソロデビュ
clip...
ーって言葉が出
Yeah,
た。
of course. This
確
isn't
か
my
に
first
その方が
expedition,
一
you
人
know.
一人の魅力が
My
伝わり
powers
や
of
すいのかもしれ
perception
ない。
are sharper than the
でも
sharpest
俺は
blade.
みんな一緒にデビューしてほしいって思っ
Nope,
てる。
she seemed...
これは
Although...
俺のわがまま
It
かも
felt
しれ
like
ないけ
she
ど、
was looking
最
through
初の一
me.
歩は誰も欠けずに
Similar
ここに
feeling.
いるみんなで
Do
一
you
緒に
have to
踏
put
み
it
出して
like
ほしい
that? That's scary.
って思ってるんだけど、どう思う？
みんなは賛成でございます。
Well, there's no way.
ミリアも
Absence.
いいと思う。
Let's get
みんな一緒
civilized.
の方が楽しいよね。小春もみんなと一緒だと嬉しいです。チーム。小春も賛成。
there anything left to do?
It
me?
was a long day.
Let's get to bed.
Yosh! それじゃあ決まりってことでいいかな？いいよいいよ。今日もよろしくね。よし、準備はいいか、市原さん。
ブラディアさん、しゃがんでください。はい、ブラディアさん。
Hey, did you hear that?
There's a group of Silvermane guards at the entrance.
This is our...
Let's go and meet them.
ダメでよこれます。ブラディアさんも一緒。行こうよ、ブラディアさん。
Hey, Commander Bronya's.
Are we?
こらこら、カメラマンさんに迷惑かかっちゃうだろう。じゃあ行きますよ。
I am Bronya Rand, acting commander of the Silvermane. As agent of the Supreme Guard, resistance will prove futile.
Wait a minute.
This is an orchestrated betrayal, obviously.
Looks like we've been...
That's because you always act...
Hey, I'm improving. I'm coming up with a plan right now. And... Done. Yeah.
The one that's been sealed off. It's possible. March.
Huh? Really?
3 of a kind.
Shh. It's an old...
2 pair.
Hey, what are you whispering? Let's get...
Ace!
Have an ice day!
小学生しかおられないんでしょうか。
小学生ですか。
子供ね。
They charged straight in!
Escaping into a fragmentum.
Should we report?
Supreme Guardian's order was to arrest her. We cannot abandon our pursuit just because they fled into a sealed-off area. I must ascertain their fate with my own eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
Eradicate all threats to Bellabox.
この服かわいい。こっちも。みんなキラキラしてていいよね。アイドルってどうしてこんなに可愛いんだろう。
They weren't brave enough to follow
あんたも
us.
アイドルでし
Free
ょ。
serves them right.
でも
Better luck next time,
可愛い衣
slowpoke.
装もステージもまだだもん。キラキラじゃないよ。ねえ、あのプロデューサーで大丈夫だと思う？はるちゃんはどうですか？
So, what happened back there? Why did the Supreme Guardian send people to arrest us? Imagine launching a surprise attack when your enemy is fast asleep.
It's too late to repent.
Star Rail has a major problem. Now, this is 1010 we're talking
Don't
about
hesitate.
here. And this dude freaks out over any game that doesn't have Zhang Ling in it. So let's see what he has to say. Now, I've played this game for about 10, 11 hours so far. So I am curious, 1010. What is the problem? Because I'm not seeing it. I am not seeing a problem this game has so far, but we'll see. And I'm not gonna glaze this game too hard. If the guy has a point, the guy has a point. But what is the problem that you think it has? I would say the biggest problem it has is that you can't jump in the game. Let's find out.
By the same developers as Genshin Impact, Hoyoverse, and it's meant to be a continuation on the Honkai universe, or as they would call it, the Hoyoverse. I was very fortunate to be granted beta access to the earlier closed beta test of Honkai Star Rail, which, while it was really fun at first, very quickly
I don't really like CBTs too much. It just feels weird progressing something that I know is gonna get erased, but yeah, keep going.
It appeared that there is a major, massive problem with the
What's
brand
that?
new system of Honkai Star Rail that
Is the problem that it's a gacha game and people are gonna lose tens of thousands of dollars to it? Yeah, but that's not my problem, so whatever.
will lead me to turn away from this game, and unfortunately, ultimately, this is not a game that I'll be playing on its release.
Oh, dude, he's not playing it? Okay, what's the problem?
Let's talk about
this is serious then, okay.
Honkai Star Rail's biggest problem.
Okay.
Just as a quick disclaimer though, this is not a video meant to bash on the game, but rather just to explain my experience with the closed beta test of Honkai Star Rail.
Sure.
In fact, I've never been a big fan of turn-based combat.
Bro, are you about to say that it's turn-based combat, so it's boring because you don't like turn-based combat? I don't get the people's problem with turn-based combat at all. And the fact that people want to dismiss this genre as a whole, the whole mentality, turn-based RPG is bad. Yeah, Persona 5's bad, isn't it? Yeah, Final Fantasy's bad, isn't it? Yeah, Pokemon. How can a turn-based RPG possibly thrive? I don't know, because the genre is actually fun and it really takes strategy to the next level, bro. God, that take is so shit, it's ridiculous. But I'm glad he at least admits that he just doesn't like turn-based RPG. And that, I mean, you can end the video there. Realistically, you can say, oh, I don't like turn-based RPG, so I'm not gonna play. Right, that makes sense to me, but whatever.
Like Final Fantasy or Persona. And that could probably be a major reason that led me away from playing Honkai Star Rail.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I don't like the genre. Listen, man, I don't give a how much there might be a new chess video game. I hate chess, so I'm not gonna like it. So that might be a reason.
As I have always been a bigger fan of action RPG game like Sekiro. MiHoYo in the past,
I love Sekiro too, man. You're gonna love Wuthering Waves, baby.
Has developed a bunch of characters that people really love and enjoy in their past title like Honkai Impact or Genshin Impact. And the Honkai Star Rail universe does have really enjoyable and lovable character as well. So if that's something that's exciting you, I highly encourage you to give the game a try. I did have a lot of fun when I first started playing the game. It just wasn't for me after a couple hours, but the game is free to play after all, so it is free for you to try it out. This is not an ad, but most importantly, please don't spend money that you can't afford. It is still a gacha game at the end of the day, and be careful with your addiction. Let's talk about
very true. I respect the creators who say that. I really do. Respect for creators who do warn people it is a gacha game. Okay.
Main thing that I want to uncover today is Honkai Impact's combat system, aka the turn-based system. In this game, you assemble a party of 4 members, usually with some kind of DPS, healer, support, and you take turn acting facing against the enemy. At the very top left of the screen, you can observe what we call the action list. This indicate what turn it is and which character is available to act.
True. You know what's also tricky? Like sniping your ult at the right time. It is very tricky. I wish there was a way to make it a little bit easier, but that's okay.
And you effectively just take turn between your characters and the enemy characters to attack each other. Some characters have faster attack speed that potentially allow them to attack twice before the enemy is able to. But you get the general idea. You just kind of go off one after another. When it comes down to your turn, each character basically have 2 available actions. You can either perform a basic attack, which generate you a skill point indicated by this star here, or you can consume a skill point across your team to cast their signature skill instead, which is the button smaller on the right side of the screen. In addition to that, every character also have a signature ability, kind of like an elemental burst from Genshin Impact, which you can use.
Is this a guide to the game, or is this the where's the problem?
Anytime your energy is full. This ability do not cost you a turn and can be casted anytime, so you kind of just cast them whenever they're off cooldown or whenever they're recharged. There's also kind of an elemental system.
Well, you can save them. You don't just cast whenever they're off cooldown. You can save them for the right moment.
In the game, kind of denoted by the character's colors, but unlike Genshin Impact, where doing reactions is a thing, elements in this game are really just counter element. They're just meant to break shield. Most of the time, enemy will have a shield,
like every other turn-based RPG on the planet,
indicated by the white bar on top of their head. But alongside that will be a couple elements that counter that enemy. And basically, instead of trying to create elemental reaction with your characters, you want to match your element with the same colors on the enemy to do bigger shield damage to their enemy. For example, this enemy here has a
like how Pokemon electric is super effective against like water, or fire is super effective against grass,
red colors on top of their head, indicating that they're weaker to pyro element. In this case, casting a pyro attack onto them will do bigger shield damage, which likelier to stagger them and break their poise. That's the basic idea of Honkai Star Rail's combat. Again, it resembles a lot like traditional turn-based game like either certain Final Fantasy titles or Persona. Again, turn-based.
Yeah, I mean, I think I get what he's saying. He's probably missing the elemental reactions. And yeah, I do think elemental reactions would be cool, but I don't think they're necessary for the game.
This game has never really been my thing, and I've always been more like an action RPG. So that would be one of the biggest turn away I have when it comes down to those titles, including Honkai Star Rail, and might be potentially potentially for you as well. But on the other hand, if you really enjoyed the turn-based aspect about Final Fantasy or Persona, maybe you'll really enjoy Honkai Star Rail as well.
Okay, you know what? He's actually taking a very good approach to this. Okay, so he is being very reasonable so far. Okay, cool, yeah. I do think if you like turn-based RPGs, you will like Honkai Star Rail, for sure.
To be very fair,
it might be one of the best turn-based RPGs ever made, but the story's gonna really have to flesh out. But as far as the combat system goes, it's very good.
Despite me knowing that I don't really enjoy turn-based combat, I actually did have a lot of fun when I first started playing Honkai Star Rail. My first couple hours was super amazing. Exploring the world, exploring about these characters, learning about these characters' stories and background was really exciting. These characters have really great personality and aesthetic that quickly captured my heart. But again, the main problem is that after I played it for a couple hours, this game just insanely suddenly felt super repetitive and boring that instantly turned me away. And that is the big problem that I want to talk about in this video. So, what is this so sudden change that turned me away so quickly? What is this big problem that I'm talking about? And it's the fact that Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based game with 2 buttons. The problem is that on each turn, you can either choose one or the other.
Yeah, your basic, your signature, and then your alt, and then use that with 4 different characters. So you have the regular, the signature, and then 4 alts. So in total, it's a turn-based RPG with 12 buttons.
Other available action, you have a total of 2 choices. You can either do
that are all happening at the same time.
A basic attack, or if you have a skill point, you can choose to instead spend a skill point to do your signature skill instead. There's absolutely no other decision making process in the game. There's absolutely no other available action in the game. You don't really get to choose.
Well, that's not true, because the decision making then also varies on how many opponents you have at the same time, sometimes up to 4, which means you have 12 abilities happening at the same time versus your opponents, which could also be up to 4, maybe even more, and you have to deal with the abilities that they're using while also lining up the correct elemental mastery to each, while also timing your ability to not waste damage and also preventing any mechanics that they might have occurring on your own characters. Okay.
When your turn goes, you kind of just follow the action list, and
I would say this is oversimplifying.
Your elemental burst or your signature ability doesn't really have a decision-making process either, since it doesn't consume a turn. So you can just cast it whenever they're off cooldown. There's no...
As well as the buffs, making sure to use your abilities to have maximum effect with the buffs, setting up combos with your other characters. Like, for example, Bronya, attack speed, Pila, strip and shred, as well as the Fox Girl with the buff, and then using a character to AoE them down. But we can continue.
No such thing as, oh, I'm gonna save my turn for the signature ability. And effectively, you're just gonna be pressing the 2 buttons, one or the other, the entire time, over and over and over. It might be...
Yeah, that's way different from Genshin that has...
Take this.
Oh wait, no shit, Genshin only has 3 buttons too, never mind.
On different characters, it might be a little different depending on how you want to combo, how the turn is going. But in general, your decision comes down to either pressing the button on the left or the button on the right. Games like Final Fantasy or Persona have dramatically more action that you can take. There's a lot more choices.
Now this is kind of bullshit though, because for games like Persona, there are a lot of moves that you could use, but you're just gonna use the good move over and over and over and over and over again. It's kind of like the illusion of choice. I've played all of Persona 4, and I've played about 75% of the way through Persona 5 as well, and I'll be real, calling P5R's combat more is a little bit, well, not that good, because it is kind of just like press the good move all over and over and over again, right? And we're also not taking into the account of preparation for battle as well, with making the proper potions and all that shit too.
This is when it comes down to what action you're gonna do, and when it comes down to your turn, you can either chain up a combo with one of your 10 many available skills, 20 available skills. Maybe you can even use an item to buff up your character for the next turn. In fact, even if we take a look at Pokemon, which only really have 4 action at the time with each Pokemon, there's still a lot more that go on in Pokemon. There's the concept of, hey, let me take a turn to switch my Pokemon out so that it'll be more advantageous the next turn. There's the idea of, let me cast a buff right now so that I can do a bigger attack the next turn.
I get what you're saying, but also the majority of Pokemon players, and you can call me wrong if you like, but once again, for Pokemon players, people are just going to use the big move. That's it. They're going to build a Pokemon, they're going to get it to a level 100, and then they're going to use the big move. I mean, that's how I played my Pokemon as well, you know? Pokemon 1, you know, Pokemon Blue, Red, I just built a Dragonite. Dragonite, and then I would use Hyper Beam, wait a turn, Hyper Beam, wait a turn. You know, maybe I would use like Dragon Claw or some shit in a later gen.
Maybe there is even the idea of using item consumable to revive your Pokemon a little bit. Again, consuming your next turn. In Honkai Star Rail, none of these concepts exist. It's always either you press a button on the left or you press a button on the right. To even simplify it.
The other thing is that he's not taking to ability. If Pokemon can be successful with left click or right click, this move also has 4 characters going at the same time where their alt gauges could come up at any time, as well as counter gameplay when you shield another character that you predict the other characters to hit in order to implement a counter mechanism, as well as playing with characters with talents where if you break a shield at a certain percentage, then another character does another counter attack and does more damage at a certain percentage. I just feel like this is oversimplification at its finest, in my humble opinion.
A little bit more for you. The button on the right, aka your character's ability, costs a skill point, and you can only cast it when you have a skill point. And of course, casting it doesn't generate your skill point. And your decision actually gets simplified even more because you want to save your skill point for those abilities when you need them, either a offensive ability or a defensive ability. So it pretty much comes down to, do I want to cast a basic attack because I don't have the skill point right now and generate a skill point, or I have the skill point available to me and therefore I just want to cast my signature ability instead. To give you a little bit of example, one of the things that you can potentially do is like, hey, my healer needs to heal because my team is low, so let me basic attack on my DPS characters to generate a skill point so that when it comes down to my healer's turn, I can use their healing ability. And in the reverse, if your team is not low and your healer doesn't need to heal, then what you could do is basic attack on your healer to generate a skill point for your DPS and then cast the ability on your DPS to do more damage. That is basically the entire game. Your decision pretty much comes down to a flowchart with 2 methods of path. If you need heal, you just cast the basic attack on your DPS, save skill point for your healer, cast the healer ability. If you don't,
I mean, that is what you do. You want to play the game right, so you use the abilities that you need to use, and then you don't use the abilities that you don't need to use. But like, this type of oversimplification can be used on any game from here to the end of time. Like, that's like saying, okay, so in Genshin, when you need to kill the mob, you do damage to it, and then when you're afraid you're gonna die, you just use your shield or heal it, and that's the whole game. That's all you do.
Only heal, cast the ability on the DPS to do more damage, cast the basic attack on.
I feel like he has a disappointment. He's oversimplifying too much. No, 100%. I do think he has a point. There are points being made, but like the points that are being made are, this is how turn-based RPGs work.
Healer to generate a skill point. That is the entire game played out for you. The entire combat of the game can basically be simplified and explained onto a 2-dimensional flowchart in 1 sentence, and it all is because this game only have 2 available actions at a time. Again, either the button on the left or the button on the right, aka either.
I still really think the underselling of the dynamic ultimate ability chart is kind of thrown off. I think it's a very interesting mechanic, like timing speed and being able to use your ultimates to cut between enemies at a specific time in order to get max benefit. I think it's very cool.
You do your basic attack or you do your ability, and if you happen to have your elemental,
as well as team building and strategy beforehand,
burst or your signature ability up, just cast it off cooldown, whatever. And it's exactly that reason why the game feels super repetitive after a couple hours, and why it was fun the first initial couple hours. When you're still exploring the game, when you're still coming up with your strategy, when you're still learning what to do, you don't really see this problem because you haven't learned all of it yet. You're still trying to figure it out, and it was kind of fun doing that. But once you have figured it out, after your 3rd hour, it's just always the same formula over and over and over and over and over and over and again. Button on left, button on right, button on left, button on right, whatsoever. The fact that Honkai Star Rail,
well, yeah, when you boil down to FPS, I mean, pretty much all it is right click and left click, right click and left click, right click and left click. It's just that's why I just don't like shooting games, guys.
You only have 2 available actions at the time. I mean, you can't really come up with a strategy that's really different than the others. Your strategies pretty much come down to the same all the time. Which brings me to the next problem. If strategy is not what actually wins you the battle in a turn-based combat, what actually do matter? The answer is stats and only stats. A strategy doesn't really matter anymore since you only have 2 buttons and it's the same thing again and again. The only thing that determines if you win or lose is if you have higher stats than the enemy or if the enemy have higher stats than you. Which
no. That's not it. There actually is a fair bit of strategy to some of the fights that are in this game. I want to let him cook a little bit more because I want to see where he's going. But Jesus Christ, this is the most... Dude, 1010, you do not like turn-based RPGs. I mean, no disrespect to you, by the way. I did not mean to make this like a we hate 1010 video at all. But goddamn, this is a pretty brainless take. Holy...
which means this game is insanely stat checky and is absolutely super pay to win. This is one of the biggest things when it comes.
Super stat checky and incredibly pay to win. Okay, I'm free to play and I have not reached a single issue yet. Okay, let's see. Well, maybe this is true. Maybe I cannot beat the game unless I spend money.
Come down to turn-based game is that when you hit your ability, you just do that amount of damage. Always, with no exception. Turn-based games in general are very stat checky because you can't really miss an ability. Maybe sometimes there's RNG factor that you have to play around, but in general, if you press the button, you expect it to do the thing, and it probably is gonna do the thing, which just overall results in the game being really stat checky.
I think the other issue that Tenden's really having here is that two of the most successful turn-based RPGs of all time that are gacha games are Epic 7 and Summoner's War, and I would say this combat is better than both of those. It has a proven track record of having a better combat system than both of them. Now, it does like PvP, that's true, but it also has a better story as well as more character development to have you more attached to the characters and will make you more profit. But I feel like that's being severely underestimated. I mean, it's like the same argument that you can make for Genshin Impact versus Breath of the Wild, you know? Like, he's comparing Honkai Star Rail, a gacha game meant to be played on phones, versus Persona 5 Royale, as well as Final Fantasy VII, two of the greatest games of all time. And if I were to compare Genshin, a mobile game, to real AAA titles, well, I'm pretty sure I can make the exact same argument as well. But the reality is that people who do enjoy turn-based games will still enjoy this game quite a lot. But like, I mean, imagine how drab and dull Genshin Impact must feel for a player who just came from Breath of the Wild, where you can like slide down your shield, jump, do a backflip in the air, slow down time on an object, hit it a couple times, jump on it, fly across the map, jump off, slow down time, shoot it in the air, use 10 different weapons at the same time, throw once, keep some, right? Like, it really is just, it's just kind of nitpicking and, you know, oversimplification.
With Honkai Star Rail only having 2 buttons and it being a gacha game and it being like super grindy with the artifact system, it really worried me how pay to win the game will be, especially for an end game. Oftentimes.
But once again, maybe he's right, you know? Maybe he's right about everything. Maybe I'm the blind one. Maybe I'll realize how bad it is in a couple of days. You know, maybe I'll figure it out. But for right now, I'm not seeing it.
When you lose to a battle, it feels like you would just understand it for the battle rather than because you employed the wrong strategy. With Honkai Star Rail being a gacha game, it means that character acquisition will be much more difficult compared to traditional turn-based game, again like Final Fantasy or Persona. Because instead of assembling a team to create a strategy that you like, sometimes you might just be missing key component or key characters because you couldn't gacha for them, you couldn't afford for them, or the gacha god just didn't really like you, and therefore you completely fail to implement that strategy that someone else might be running. The biggest culprit of this in the beta was Seela, who is the feature's 5-star character, who is ridiculously overpowered and can just solo the entire enemy team by herself despite being a single target carry because her speed was so high and she has a passive that let her attack again if she killed an enemy. The Seela strategy in the beta test was so dominant because you can just take, let's say, 8 to even 9 attack in a row, and I swear someone out there did a 11 attack combo on Seela alone, so the enemy never get a turn to attack. Why give the enemy a turn to attack if you can just attack again and again and then again and again and again and again and again? But of course, this is only possible if you either spend money to roll for the feature's 5-star character Seela, or you got really lucky, or you saved up a lot of currency over time. And with that being said, there's no way you're gonna ever get every single character without spending. So eventually, you're gonna run into this problem with potentially the next feature's 5-star characters, or maybe the one after that. Honkai Star Rail in many ways implement the exact same system as Genshin Impact when it comes down to its gacha. There's like,
which is really bad.
Pity, there's like 50-50, whatever. You get the idea if you're coming from Genshin Impact. AKA, it is not really generous. But the most important is that you can always roll for duplicate of the character to continuously evolve those characters. AKA Constellation. And the thing about Honkai Star Rail being a turn-based game is that Constellation always simply comes down to one thing. It improves your character stat. Either it allows it to do more things, attack more target, it does more damage, and stuff like that. There's no Constellation that changes how the character is played because it is a turn-based game. Again, playstyle comes down to pressing the button on the left or pressing the button on the right. So every Constellation just becomes this character do more things, more damage, more utility, more area coverages, and that's it. Which means the game overall is insanely pay to win. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy Honkai Star Rail as a...
I think pay to win is only truly a problem when it's a PvP game. That's what I think. Then it becomes quality. Can you pay money to make yourself better in this game? Yes. Can you beat this game without spending money? I would say yes. So I feel like the term is being used a little bit hostile when I don't really think it's a problem.
Completely free to play. In fact, you could enjoy Genshin Impact for the most part being a complete free to play because of free to play friendly character like Xiangling. I haven't really covered all the other aspect about Honkai Star Rail, you know, the artifact farming, the resin or the energy systems, the end game like simulated universe. But ultimately, I think the fundamental of Honkai Star Rail is just flawed. The fact that it's a turn-based game with a Q button overall just means that the game will always revolve around concept like that.
I mean, yeah, but like, I don't know, like, listen, man, do you know how many games I can make sound so basic? Because, you know what, I'm going to save this opinion to the end of the video.
Same thing over and over and being insanely...
Once again, I'm really not trying to shit on Tenten here, but this is definitely screams, I just don't like turn-based RPGs. You could have just said, I don't like turn-based RPGs, so I don't like this.
Stat checking. And that is the reason why this is a big problem for me, and maybe even for you to worry about when it comes down to Honkai Star Rail. It's because, fundamentally speaking, the game is just flawed. I get that they're trying to make the game as easy as possible for many players to get and enjoy. This is the formula that kind of worked for them for Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a super easy game to get into. It is super casual friendly. So maybe they want to replicate the success with a turn-based game in Honkai Star Rail by making it as easy as possible for most players to enjoy. And again, maybe you will still enjoy the game and the game is free to play, so you can still try out the game and maybe you'll like it.
I'm glad you ended with that
everything I say in this video. But for me, who has always been looking for those action RPG, higher level of content, min-maxing endgame, Honkai Star Rail just isn't really for me. And for that reason, I won't be playing Honkai Star Rail.
Dude really just said, I wanted to play an action RPG, but it's a turn-based RPG, so I won't be playing. Alright, this is actually such a goofy-ass video.
And that's really it. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, I feel like the entire video could have been summarized by saying, I don't like turn-based RPGs, but if you like turn-based RPGs, you will like it. So here's the reality. So this video came down to oversimplification and kind of like doom posting, right? I don't like the way he brought up the game is super pay to win because it kind of makes it seem like the game wouldn't be able to be beat unless you paid to win, which just isn't true. The other thing is that when he says all you do is press the left or the right button, well, it's a lot more than that, okay? Because one, you need to team prep, you need to strategize, you need to make sure that you're on the right team, whether you need a buff or not. You need to understand what enemies you're going against, what mechanics they have, and which characters you will bring. Then you also need to use the left button or the right button, depending on what you need for the damage, whether that's healing, buffs, or damage bursting abilities. And then you also need to be aware of your dynamic ult, which can be up at any time, as well as combo synergies for how your abilities work, whether that is when you drop an enemy below 50% HP, a combo attack can occur, or there's also auto AI that you need to optimize your team in order to be running functionally. Saying just use the left or the right button is a little bit minimalizing. That's not really how it is. It's like saying Pokemon is just use the left, right, or the bottom left, bottom right ability. And that's the whole game. Tenten's just the guy who doesn't like turn-based RPGs, and I'm glad he admitted that. But that's pretty much what the whole video came down to. Shit, maybe I'll hate the game 2 in a week, and then I'll say, you know what? Tenten was right the whole time. We'll see. Anyways, Tenten. TV/Techno for about 11 hours. Not gonna lie, I'm very irritable. I'm pretty pissed off. But that's normal for my YouTube content. And normally you see me playing Genshin Impact and you say, God, he's so fucking angry. Well, I am very angry. That's because I'm tired and not because of this game. Now, I'm gonna be doing a pros and cons list. I'm going to be giving my game rating for Honkai Star Rail. For what it is, I'm going to give it a game rating for it being a gacha RPG. So I'm gonna be rating this as a gacha game, not a real title. Okay, because this is a gacha game. So I'm gonna rate it as a gacha game. So I want to go over everything and then you can decide. And I also want to do my review for 1 day, my review for 1 week, my review for 1 month. If you want my full honest opinions, I do not pull punches. I'm going to tell y'all how it is, how I feel. Maybe my opinions change, maybe they don't. But right now, I'm going to give you my initial feel. So we're going to start off with the pros. We're going to go to the cons, and then we're going to do all around. We will be starting right now. First of all, combat. Very good, very smooth. It is a turn-based RPG. You get exactly what you would expect. Turn-based combat. It feels fantastic. One of the smoothest, if not the smoothest, turn-based RPG I've ever played. And yes, I have played Epic 7, and yes, I have played Summoner's War. I prefer this one. The knockdown system is cool. The stamina system is cool. The energy buildup is cool. It feels dynamic. It feels flowy. It feels very, very, very good, and the fights are not that easy. Now, keep in mind, I am 100% free to play. I have not spent a dime. I have not spent a dime on this game yet, and I don't plan on it. I don't plan on it because it being harder feels very good. I have the Trailblazer, I have March 7th, I have Don Hang, I have Asta, I have Serval, I have Herta, and I don't know how I got this, but I also got Only Silence Remains on this thingy. And then for my summons, I have done 40 pulls on my Warp. That's all from day one currency. And then I have done 4 summons on the premium banner. And I have gotten a total of all. I have multiple copies that I have for Asta, but I am not going to use them yet. I am not going to use her Eidolons. I have 2 that I could unlock, but I'm not going to do it because I want to know what the real free-to-play experience is, because that's very important to me. Okay, but so far the combat feels very good, challenging, and rewarding. Let's go to the story. The story, get this, feels very good. It's very interesting. And the majority of it is fully voiced. And the way that it is voiced is very good for what I've experienced so far. The characters have personality. The main character can talk. And here's the best part. There's no Paimon. If that's not a reason enough to try this game, I don't know what is, because holy shit, you would be shocked at how much better Hoyoverse can tell a story when there's not a stupid dipshit that you have to listen to 24/7 that ruins the vibe non-stop. March 7th fulfills the role of Paimon, and she is everything Paimon wishes she was. March 7th is adorable, and I love her, and she doesn't look like an annoying rat. She is adorable, and she's just a ray of sunshine, and I genuinely care about the character, and I don't feel weird because it's not a weird floating stupid baby that I want to strangle. Pretty much the idea is you wake up, you have no memories. Yes, it's very cliche, but here's the cool thing. We're not looking for our brothers and sisters. We're actually an atomic bomb. Yes, how I got reincarnated as a nuclear bomb is the name of the game. And you go from planet to planet and you try to cure the planet's cancer. And what I'm thinking will happen after you cure the planet's cancer, it will become beautiful, vibrant. And just for 2 seconds, I told a hilarious joke and my chat laughed at it. I would have the chat on the screen, but they were very bad, so I had to turn them off. But yes, I am still live while making this video, and because I put chat on the screen because they were being good, and now I'm taking them off because they're in trouble. Yes, chat, you're in trouble. Continuing on. The graphics are absolutely fantastic. They are everything that Genshin does and more. The sound design is fantastic. The characters look a lot better than I previously gave them credit for. And the way that they look is also how they feel, which I very much appreciate. Okay, I don't have many flashy characters, but I actually do genuinely enjoy the way the characters looks. Sure, Don, Hang, and Asta live a little bit to be desired, but Serval and March 7th are absolutely beautiful. Same thing with Himiko and some of the other 5 stars as well. But I think March 7th is just about a perfect character as you can possibly get. The world also feels very, very, very nice. The world kind of feels like how I imagine Fontaine would feel, or at least the current area that I'm in. There's also another spaceship area, but the world does look very cool, you know? I'm not really thinking, wish they would have done this, wish I would have done that. I mean, I think they just did a really good job. It feels unique, you know, something I really haven't seen before, or at least something that I have seen before with a nice little twist, the old yoink and twist, the old Ludwig method, and it feels very good. The music is fantastic, and the really fun thing is there's a little choo-choo train that you can go on, and I'm not going to show you where that's at because I'm running low on time and I need to get my daily task unlocked, but the problem is I'm enjoying the game so much that I'm playing so slow, but the music is very good, and if you don't believe me, just boot in the login screen, hear that intro music in the beginning, and you will straight up bust. Maybe my editor will even put it on as the background to this video, but I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. To be honest, he's probably just playing Animal Crossing. Now, let's talk about the cons. Let's just go ahead and get it out. The gacha in this game is horrible. It's the same as Genshin's. Rates are shit. The banners are bad. When I pull, I'm sad. I'm free to play. I've gotten and I'm pissed off. But every gacha system is bad. That's just the truth. But the good news is the game is still fun even when you use shitty units. So I'm actually fairly happy with that. But I will admit, pulling in this game, it makes me want to rip out my eyeballs and die a million deaths. Especially now, I can't overcome the pulling system because I can't spend money on the game, which blows. Next, the open world does feel a little bit not that open. It is very, very, very limited because, oh wait, lol JK, it's actually just not an open world. There's a lot of ins and sings, which me personally, I don't mind, but god damn do other people do it, and so does my chat, enough so where I feel like I should have credit to them. Last thing, second to last thing, there's no skip button to some of the dialogue, which thankfully the dialogue is good, and I wouldn't want to have skipped, but there's gonna be a lot of people who do want to skip, okay? And lastly, there is no f***ing jump. There's no f***ing jump. I don't even need it to use it. I just like being able to jump. So you can't run and jump, which is crazy to me. I feel like I'm playing Ocarina of Time again. It's making me lose my mind. That being said, I will say this. This is in my top 3 gacha I've ever played of all time, okay? Maybe even top 2. Obviously, Genshin is the best gacha I've ever played. Oh my God, she took photos of herself and she's posting them on social media. Oh my God, March 7th, I love you so much. This game is really good. Right now, with everything I said in mind, I would give this game a solid 8.5 out of 10 as far as gachas go. I think this game is great. I think this is exactly the break that Hoyoverse players are going to need to be able to back out of Genshin, relax, enjoy a different game for a little bit, and go back when 4.0 comes out. I think this is great, and this is going to stall me to Wuthering Waves, 7 Deadly Sins Origins, as well as my return to Genshin when 4.0 comes out, as well as the Black Clover mobile game that's coming out. This is a nice breath of fresh air. I'm enjoying every second of it, and I think you should give it a shot. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and that is how I genuinely feel about Honkai Star Rail right now. I will update this in 1 week.
And there wasn't any specific FaceTimes from any of those numbers that I was looking at. That's neither here nor there because we're at this position. Obviously, that's somehow, you know, what the direction they wanted to go as far as they couldn't get a hold of me, which led for this to be the case. My point was, if there was a change that wanted to be made,
never heard of it.
why wasn't that told to me early in the off season?
Did you try to FaceTime?
Let's move on from that. I think certainly we try to communicate, but I don't really know what to say to that. But we wish him well. I'm glad that it's finalized, and we're kind of moving forward.
Were you aware that he had cell phone reception issues in Malibu?
Yeah. We're not going to get into those details. I understand the question, and we try to communicate on a number of levels. Once we couldn't, we communicated with his agent quite a bit. So, I'm not going to get into that. I think that's it's not good for us, not good for them, and we're going to just kind of move forward. But I appreciate the question, but there was no lack of effort and communication on that part from us.
Forget it.
Yeah, I'm Team Packers on this one. I don't believe what Aaron Rodgers is saying for a second. And I thought it was funny, a couple of things. First, he says, I don't want to get into the specifics. And then he gets into the specifics. All the way down to the bottom of the last detail of the specifics. And also, Chris, I don't know if you noticed this. The whole time he's explaining what happened, Robert Saleh is sitting there with the demeanor of a guy who just wants this specific part of the press conference to end. Please, God, let this part of it end. Because let's apply common sense.
Hey, it's you.
They had an 18-year relationship with this guy. Surely they've communicated with him in the offseason. I doubt they had any trouble talking to him last year. Or he had any trouble talking to them when they gave him $150 million cash flow over 3 years on his new contract. It's not all that hard to get somebody. And if you're living in a house where you have bad cell service, what the hell? He's got enough money. Buy a cell tower. Make it look like a palm tree. I was in Arizona, Super Bowl. I saw a cell tower that was disguised as a palm tree. It was awesome. So that's on you. Don't give me this nonsense that, well, I have bad cell service. If you want to get me, you have to FaceTime me. They know how to get him, and they tried to get him. They can get in touch with his agents. They knew how to get him, and they tried to get him. And Aaron's concocting this false narrative to support his false narrative that he's the victim in all this. It's a two-way street.
Yeah,
there's blame on
agreed.
both sides.
Oh,
Don't try to make it look like you're the victim when it's a two-way street.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely, I mean, fishy. I'm with you in that sentiment there. Doesn't really add up. You're right. The relationship's too long, right? If the only the way they could reach you is FaceTime, I mean, I would think they would know that as long as the relationship has been, right? And there's definitely some things to pick apart there in that conversation. I don't know what happened there. What is it? Did Rodgers feel ghosted by them early in the offseason, that he just towards the end of this process, he ghosted them back and was like, okay, wait, you didn't want to communicate with me early on, so now I'm going to leave you in the dark here at the end. That's what it kind of seems like, kind of trying to sift through this. But, yeah, it's, this is where Rodgers gets himself in trouble a little bit. And I wish this is times where, for as much as I love him being honest, here I wish he would just be honest, take it on the chin, and move on with life instead of trying to finagle some narrative here like he's doing.
I just wonder whether some people are so smart they start to believe their own bullcrap, but I really think this was about leaving Green Bay and not being regarded as the bad guy. The team is the bad guy. The team is the reason this didn't happen. That's my take on the narrative he tried to hatch with McAfee 6 weeks and a day ago. The idea is, hey, you know what? I was done. I was 90% done. They told me, you still have a spot, and that's fine. I was 90% done, and I was likely going to come out of that darkness retreat 100% done. And then I find out that they're shopping me, that they're considering trading me. Hey, what's this all about? That's when it changed. So don't blame me, Packers fans, now that I'm playing for the Jets and not playing for you. If the Packers hadn't reneged on the impression they created, I would have just retired. And that's what every team wants its great quarterback to do. Jim Irsay tried to speak it into existence by telling Rob Lowe about it with Peyton Manning 11 years ago, if we remember that. Remember, Rob Lowe had a 5-minute stint as an NFL insider when he said Peyton Manning was going to retire. The Patriots would have preferred that Tom Brady retire. You always want that great quarterback to retire, not go play somewhere else and make you look bad. The Packers wanted him to retire, and that's what he probably assumes the fans wanted. So he looks like the bad guy because he moved on. But, that's where that all came from. It's this big convoluted mess, and it's all about Aaron Rodgers not being regarded as the villain. Because, look, Chris, if he stays for next year, and the Jets and the Packers finish in the same spot in their respective divisions, and there is a 25% chance of that happening, not 12.5. Somebody emailed me about that the other day. One team has a 100% chance of finishing in one of those 4 spots. Once that's locked in, other team has a 25% chance of landing in the same spot. If they're in the same spot, it's Jets and Packers next year. And he was there playing quarterback when Brett Favre was booed loudly every time he set foot on the field and every time he had the ball in his hands in his return to Lambeau Field in his second year after leaving the Green Bay Packers, and I think that's what he's trying to avoid.
Yeah,
plain and simple. That's what this is all about. If our paths ever cross again, I don't want to be the guy who got treated the way Brett Favre did.
Yeah, but probably, and that's probably what's leading to this. And that's where I just, again, as a guy that likes Aaron Rodgers, as you know, and has such great respect for his game, that's where I wish he didn't do that stuff. Because at the end of the day, really, he didn't have to. If he would have just kind of been the villain here, the big picture of this is still the Packers messed it up. The big picture of this is they traded away Devontae Adams. The big picture is they never get anybody in free agency or draft anybody to help Aaron Rodgers. So that's where if he just would have been honest about that stuff, I think the whole football would have gone, yeah, they've screwed you over a lot. You're right. They actually screwed you over more than any awesome quarterback in the history of football. And we would have been okay with it. But then he does this, and that makes, some people not like him or whatever else, or question his motives and all that. And that's where I just go, man, Aaron, you don't need to do it. It's unnecessary. Green Bay was the one that messed this up, and now you're giving them wiggle room to make it look like you messed it up by the way you've kind of handled it.
And I feel like in recent years he has gotten away from that degree of sensitivity to what others think. He's leaned into this villain status. He's embraced conspiracy theories that are polarizing by definition. I'm not saying whether they're right or whether they're wrong, but they're polarizing by definition. That's why I thought yesterday was going to get interesting. Who's going to ask him the question about being a potential 9/11 truther as he's sitting next to a guy whose brother was in one of the World Trade Center towers on 9/11 and escaped because he was below where the plane hit. And that was the moment that Robert Saleh had his epiphany that I'm going to do something with my life that I want to do because I got only one life and it can end at any time. Right? I don't know, was somebody going to ask him about that? Was somebody going to ask him about his belief that Big Pharma, and think about how crazy this is. And this is what the Jets are getting. And we didn't hear any of it yesterday, but we very well might because we've heard it in the past. He believes, and he said this, I am not putting words in his mouth and I am not mischaracterizing it. He said he believes that Big Pharma, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson instigated people like us to vilify him when he lied to everyone about being vaccinated, deliberately played word games by saying, yeah, I've been immunized. His belief is that the reaction to what he said, the criticism to what he said, is not organic and natural and authentic. It's instigated by Pfizer, Moderna, and the very company whose money is flowing through the owner of the Jets and going into his pocket. And that's the new quarterback of the New York Jets. And there's nothing wrong with us pointing it out because he's already said it, Chris. That's the one thing about this whole picture that makes me think, man, it can go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, listen, stuff like that doesn't usually come up at football. Football is usually the people stay out of that type of talk and all of that. But yeah, it's a little bit of the elephant in the room, but hey, where I want to go, yeah, as weird as that is, your connection with 9/11 and yeah, the getting after the big pharma and all that, some of those thoughts align with the owner's thoughts and who he supports politically too. So I don't know, maybe I don't know what to think. Who knows? The world's crazy.
Well,
world's crazy. I don't know what to think. I could go down examples and say how the whole world's crazy right now. So I don't know. I mean,
here's my broader point. Here's my broader point, though, and this is where I was going before I got off track a little bit. I feel like he's getting to the point where he doesn't care what other people think, but he still does enough to get into this weird tit for tat.
He's protecting the Packer fan base. That's the only thing he seems to care about, I think, is what you're saying. Maybe.
No, he's protecting himself from the venom of the Packer fan base.
Right, that's right.
He still worries about what they think.
Yeah.
Okay. My point is this, and he's not 40 yet, and I hope for him two things. Number one, he repairs any fractured relationships in his life, and number two, at some point he truly gets to the point where he does not care, because I think that level of sensitivity that's still there to criticism causes him to get himself into bad spots. Because if we just all embrace, and this is PSA part 2, let's just embrace the fact that we're all flawed, that we're all human, that we're all a little bit effed up, right? And just be who we are. Because it's when we try to be something who we aren't, is when we start down these paths where all this crazy weird stuff happens that allows us to spend 15 minutes talking about this strange back and forth over cell phone service and FaceTime and who tried to call whom. And it's a ridiculous waste of everyone's time. If we just own who we are and be who we are and accept the circumstances, life's a lot easier for everyone, including us. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk. The guy who has bigfooted the entire draft week, given the fact that the trade happened on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, press conference yesterday, Aaron Rodgers, officially a member of the New York Jets. And you know how we know it, because we got the perfunctory slow motion walk into the facility. We can't have regular speed.
I love it.
Regular speed doesn't look good. We got to have slow motion. We got our first glimpse yesterday morning of Aaron Rodgers wearing his Jets hoodie.
Yeah.
He's got the short hair. He's got the shades. That's not the one. That's Woody. Oh, Woody shoot. No, that's from Woody's account. Woody Johnson there. But there was the prior one where it reminded me of the Nicolas Cage walk up.
Yep,
with
he's on the sidewalk outside the
sleeveless
facility.
T-shirt and the long hair.
Right.
Everything's slow motion. There's Christopher Johnson. There's Robert Saleh. There's his buddy Nate Hackett. Everything's great. He gets the real hug. Everybody else gets the dap, but Nate Hackett got the real hug from Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so 2 o'clock Eastern yesterday, they gathered. And these things are fascinating to me because when it was Tim Tebow, they did it in a big room. They did it in an auditorium, and they packed the place, and people were standing. They did this in their regular press room. And let me, I don't know who all was in there, but there were multiple rounds of applause during the Aaron Rodgers press conference. Now, one of the PFT writers said that like there were team employees in there.
Yeah,
too.
there was. You could see it.
I'm not a classically trained journalist, and it shows every hour of every day. I probably would say that the writers shouldn't be clapping. The people who cover the team shouldn't be clapping at the Aaron Rodgers press conference, but I don't know. It was odd. I can't think of many other press conferences where I heard clapping multiple times.
Yeah.
Or once, even once, but it was multiple times yesterday.
No, you're right. I mean, it did look like in the few shots I saw when they panned to the the media and all the kind of the forum there in that media room that there was employees there. So there is that. Again, some of those people, those cameramen, even the beat writers who were they're Jets fans too. So I think it was a celebration day, right? And yeah, it does seem a little weird, especially if it was like national media people clapping. But I'm sure they did too, because they just felt like, hey, there's happy vibes here in the Jets building. And Woody Johnson kind of encouraged it right after that first comment he made. I think that deserves a round of applause, and that kind of started it. And then you're right, it was like one or two other times we got it after that. But there's your slow-mo, the new Jets version of Aaron Rodgers walking in. Broadway Rodgers right there. I like it. So I don't know. I had no problem with them clapping, but you're right. It was a little different or weird. You don't see that during a press conference announcing a new guy to a team like that.
And look, it helps set the tone because I wasn't necessarily expecting Rodgers to be thrown to the piranhas, but I was expecting something slightly more pointed and slightly more aggressive than we got. It really was slow pitch beer league softball Sunday.
It was the
basics. The Aaron Rodgers introductory press conference. It really was. And there was no one there who is beyond the boundaries of usual coverage of the team or the league. It was all locals. I think the only person who was there that isn't local Jets beat writer Josina Anderson asked a couple of questions, and she pressed him a little bit. We'll get to that, but she pressed him a little bit on whether or not he's going to be there for the offseason program. Brandon Marshall was sitting there front row. He didn't ask a question. I don't know whether he tried to. That's the other thing, too. It's not like everybody who wants to ask a question gets to ask a question. It was shorter than I thought it was going to be. They cut it off. That's what a PR person will do. Two more questions. They only have to make him available for as long as they want. It's not everybody gets to ask a question or everybody gets to ask two questions, and that's what's odd about it. Sometimes you'd like a little more access than that, but for now, that's what we got. So it began with Aaron Rodgers talking about his decision to become a member of the New York Jets. Here he is from yesterday's introductory press conference.
A big reason I'm here, I got to mention, is Nathaniel Hackett, who's here. Hack and I became really close friends for 3 years in Green Bay, and I love him like a brother, and I believe in him, and I'm really happy to be back working with him again. I grew up watching old VHS tapes of the Super Bowls, and so obviously I know about the guarantee and Broadway Joe. Been a while since then. I noticed walking in this morning that Super Bowl III trophy is looking a little lonely. There's some iconic names that have played here, probably none more iconic than number 12. And I heard what he said about unretiring his number, but to me, 12 is Broadway Joe, and I didn't want to even go down that path, and I'm excited about going back to my college number. I'm not here to be a savior of any kind. I'm just here to be the best quarterback I can be, to lead, authentically and to inspire the guys around me to raise their level of play to an even greater spot.
There are many things that can be said. Let me just say this. I don't know why Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were there. I don't know why they had microphones. They didn't get asked a single question.
You're right, yeah.
They were just accessories.
Right.
They were bodyguards.
Bodyguards.
I really do think they were doing their damnedest to not create a scenario where Aaron Rodgers is thrown to the wolves of the New York media. And he actually acknowledged it multiple times. Oh, I've heard things about the New York media. I'm excited to work with the New York media. He had a little clip that's floating around that was almost intentional or not homage to Tim Tebow. He used excited, boom, boom, pretty quickly when talking about the New York media. It was almost like he doesn't really mean it, but he's putting on the best possible face so he doesn't stir up the New York media prematurely. He's trying to get the right relationship, but it's never going to be any better than it is on the way in the door. No. That's a reality.
Yeah.
Whatever we saw yesterday, that's the high watermark. Unless they win every single game, unless there's nothing that he can ever be questioned about, it's never going to get any better than it was yesterday. It's only going to go down.
Yeah, it was, like we were saying a minute ago, it was a happy day. It was a celebration day. And, there was no real pressing on certain topics or we got a little question about the history with the Packers. I know we'll dive into that and, the phone call and the lack of communication between him and Gutekunst. But, yeah, it was a happy day. He did his best to kind of bridge the gap between him and the New York media and the Jets fan base. I thought he did a very good job of that. He was open. He's natural. Listen, I think he's very good in those settings. That's the one thing, again, I know the last year or two we can all probably agree that he's, been a little more free, and that's rubbed people the wrong way. And, even I'd sit here and go, man, there's days where I go, oh, gosh, we got to talk about Aaron Rodgers again. I get that. Right? But at the same time, the one thing I've always respected about him is really his openness, his honesty. I like that about him. And not that he went totally open yesterday, but, he's easy to talk to. He's got some thoughtful answers, and, I thought he embraced the history of the franchise in a nice way. He, a very smart guy, as we know. He's very aware of Joe Namath and the history of the team and all of that, and did a good job of, trying to embrace the fans and knowing how passionate they are and bringing up Fireman Ed. I mean, yeah, those are the little things that'll go a long way. It's as good as it's going to be right now, like you said, but hopefully you can keep it up in that range with, making yourself available, being good to people, answering questions honestly, and then hopefully he does the right things on the field that it can keep that perception up there at a high level as well.
Some of the things he said, too, were also contradictory. Now, we played a mashup of different things that make the contradictions more obvious. One significant contradiction, in one breath he says, I'm not here to be a savior. And then in a prior breath he says that Super Bowl III trophy is looking pretty lonely out there. So he's not the savior, but there haven't been many guys that have come through there who have even mentioned the elephant in the room. They've only ever won one Super Bowl. And oh, by the way, he's only ever won one Super Bowl too. His ring is pretty lonely. Their trophy is lonely. His ring is lonely. Let's see if we can double the fun for franchise and for quarterback. But that's a long way down the road too. And I know everybody's caught up in that. And again, the NFL and its teams thrive on the selling of hope. It doesn't have to be real hope. It doesn't even have to be plausible hope. It's just hope. That's why the draft is so popular. The draft is popular because fans of every team, except the Dolphins tonight, but hey, maybe they'll trade back in, so they're engaged too. But the fans of every team get excited about what may be, what is to come. Tonight is about those possibilities. Who's going to get that player that changes the fortune of a franchise? And what about round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Could there be a draft like the 74 Steelers? So it's that hope. And that's what yesterday was. It was a very contrived, manufactured exercise in glass half full hope. So buy jerseys, buy tickets, get excited, talk about the Jets, think about the Jets, forget about the Mets, forget about the Yankees, forget about the Giants, forget about the Knicks, forget about the hockey. I don't even know if the hockey teams are still playing.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Think about the Jets. Think about the Jets.
All three
That's
are.
what it is. Oh, they're both playing. The Penguins aren't, so I don't give a shit. Think about the Jets. Think about the Jets. That's what it's about. And they did it. It's mission accomplished. It worked. It worked. Even though there's an element of fugazi to all of it, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, it was a show. It's New York, you know. Welcome to the big show. They set it up and staged it the way they want. To your point, you said that yesterday, you know, a little bit. It was a controlled environment. It was going to be, you know, happy, and I'm sure they were pretty sure about what kind of questions were going to be asked, maybe by some people. And you're right, they got to a point where, all right, he's elaborated on a few answers. Hey, a few more questions, and they weren't going to let him sit there all day and let people dig in. You know, I think that's very real. But yeah, he's king of the town right now. Definitely, there's a lot of things going on here in New York in the sports. All three hockey teams are still playing: Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Baseball's going on. Knicks are in the playoffs. So, but the cover of the newspaper today, Daily News, New York Post, it's Jets. It's Rodgers. So he is king of the town. And, you know, I give him credit for embracing the elephant in the room, too. I do. You know, again, this is a gutsy move. I don't know, you know, it is. I know he didn't have a whole lot of other options, but still, it takes guts to do this. And, you know, I think Rodgers, with his self-aware, his awareness of the perception of him and the legacy, that, you know, he's there to win a Super Bowl. You know, I know he's trying not to say he's a savior, but this is one way to get him back into the whoa. You know, we've kind of like downplayed Aaron Rodgers the last year or two. Didn't win the Super Bowl, didn't get to the Super Bowl. Like, his legacy has taken a hit a little here. He goes here in the New York Jets and gets to a Super Bowl, wins to a Super Bowl. We start talking about him in a different way once again. We put him back up there with Mahomes and that got all those kind of conversations again. So, you know, I do give him credit for embracing that. I do.
Crush now or
It'll be
crush
fun to
later?
watch, and as I said earlier this week, I'd love to see Jets-Packers in Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58. It would be awesome. But I don't see it happening.
Well, yeah.
I really don't.
Right.
I mean, if I were one to bet, I would bet against it because he's landed in a conference where all the great quarterbacks are, where all the best teams are. You got the 49ers and the Eagles, the Packers host. For now, the 49ers and the Eagles, the top two teams in the NFC. In the AFC, it is a scrum, and those playoff games are razor thin, bounce of the ball here, quirky little thing there. I mean, the Bengals had the Chiefs beat. They had them beat. It felt like the Bengals were going to win that game, and then it turned. So, and even then, look, Jets, they're not the favorites to win the division. The Bills are. They got to play them twice. Dolphins twice. Patriots twice. Patriots odds are actually sinking a little bit. And we made this point earlier in the week. When you look at the schedule, every team from the AFC West, every team from the NFC East, it may only be one team that comes out of that division for the postseason. You may have to win it to get in. So reality is going to set in at some point, and the next step of reality will be the schedule, when we can start to do the Mike and the Mad Dog exercise. That's a win, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a loss, and it all just becomes real, and you can see it. You know, oh, Jets, everything's great. Oh, week one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
right.
We'll worry about that when we get there. Everything's still great. And so it's going to be a fun ride. It's good for the NFL. It's good for the Jets. It's good for everyone, unless and until the Jets are 2-8 and they still have 4 more nationally televised games, and Aaron Rodgers has an ankle sprain or a broken collarbone or whatever, and he's not playing. Other than that, it's reason to be very optimistic about what happens. Now,
Chris, that schedule, like you said, it's real. What September is real, like we always talk about, you and I. You know, that's another reason I think you make the trade, you get it done, you get them there. We got to hit the ground running. By all due accounts, we might be on, you know, Monday Night Football to start the year with a really tough game, and the next week we might be in, you know, the Big 425 game with playing one of the better teams in football. So I think those are other reasons maybe you paid that premium to get the trade done, to get things rolling that way. I do. But Mike, to your point too, and I'm serious, I know I brought this up yesterday. But like I had, every Jets fan in the world yesterday that I saw. What do you expect next year? What do you expect next year? What do you expect next year? What do you think? What do you think? The team is as good as it's been in I don't know how long. I mean, I don't know. It's as good as it's been since the early 2000s, or at least Parcells in the end of the 90s. It hasn't been better. Okay, maybe Rex Ryan and that group there. But like, in all due seriousness, I don't think the AFC has ever been better. I'm like, it's the 70s. It's never been better since the 70s. This is the best I can remember, and I know football from the 80s on, and have been obsessed with it. And then the AFC East, has the AFC East ever been this good? I don't really ever remember it ever being this good, where it's like, whoa, all 4 teams are like legit. There's no doubt about it. Rosters, everything. So that's where it's hard for the expectations, to your point, Mike. It's like, I don't know what to expect. They're damn good. But holy crap, quarterbacks and teams and everything in the AFC right now.
The reality is the Jets didn't make this move to try to win a Super Bowl. I think they made this move to try not to sink to the bottom of the standings, to sink to the bottom of the conference. They have to try to compete. They have to try to at least be in the conversation. Without Aaron Rodgers, they're not in the conversation. With Aaron Rodgers, they are in the conversation, but there's a long way to go. And we know what happens, especially when you have a lot of great teams. Seasons are determined by bad call, or for the other team involved, good call, bounce of the ball, just that one weird thing that happens in that one weird moment, that one play that turns a game around. The margins are so thin. You can't presume that any of those teams, any of those teams or the field take the field. Even the Chiefs take the field. There's too much crazy stuff that can happen to conspire against any one team. Yes, one team will thread all the needles in the postseason and get to the Super Bowl. But there's no clear-cut favorite. There's no team you look to and say, that's the one. Aaron Rodgers does not make the Jets the one. It doesn't even make the Jets the one in their own division, for crying out loud. Yeah. That's the other side of this optimism. So this is more, hey, we're in it. We're alive. We have a chance. This is a far cry from we're the team to beat.
Yeah, no, it is. Now, the pieces are there. The potential's there. I mean, it's legit, like we've been talking about. There's the roster it's ready to explode. So I do think it's yeah, sure, not sink to the bottom, but I also think we're going all in to win the Super Bowl. I think it can be both there. I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think there's real, like, wait, we got the pieces here to make a run, and that's why they were so aggressive and intent on getting this guy, because they think he's the guy that could do it, at least out of the guys that were available out there, and I can understand that. I'd question the other guys that were out there whether they could take me to the Super Bowl and win it. Yeah, I think that's fair, But, to your point, Mike, too, like, agreed with everything you say, except, I'll even add on to that. I think you can't, the conference is so good, and I think you can also peg one team and go bet on it. It's not only a great conference, we have a team that's in the middle of a little mini dynasty, too. And even with that, we're still not like, the conference is so good, we can't even pencil you in there. We're not sure. That's what's crazy. That really is. I mean, I've been going chalk and taking the Chiefs against the field the last 4 years. It's worked out okay, right? You know that. I've kind of said that a few times. But, yeah, I mean, to what we're saying here, it's pretty unreal, and they got a lot of work to do. They definitely do. Division, conference, all of it, and we gotta see it to believe it. This is not like Brady and the Bucks and the AFC South has just got one team and it's a little wiggle room.
But even then, with the Chiefs, and then we'll get back to the Jets.
I know.
They could have lost, should have lost to the Bengals, could have lost, should have lost to the Eagles. And what the Jets are going to need, assuming they face that same reality, that at some point they got to muster big play in a big spot. Aaron Rodgers has not been in the postseason the master of the big play in the big spot. Aaron Rodgers has been the regular season champ, postseason chump in recent years. And that's just the way it's been. He's been disappointing. He's been too careful. He's been too aware of what it means to his legacy. He gets hypersensitive about making a bad throw, getting intercepted, the politics of the quarterback position, as you say all the time.
Yeah.
He's going to have to shed that.
Definitely.
And I thought the best way to shed it last year would be get into the postseason field by the skin of your teeth.
Right.
Then your mindset is nobody expects anything from us. And maybe by the time the playoffs roll around, Jets are the last team in as the 7th seed. Got to go on the road to face the 2 seed. Get lucky. Have Aaron Rodgers not be thinking about what it means to his legacy, not supposed to be here anyway. Get loose and play like he did in 2010 when they were the last team in, ran the table, won the Super Bowl. So, two of the big questions were addressed yesterday. Is he there beyond 2023? And will he be there for the offseason program that is already underway with the Jets? Here is Aaron Rodgers addressing both of those questions.
Right now, I'm just going to focus on this season. And I'm excited about being here. I expect to be here for the duration of the offseason. And I'm excited to get to know my new teammates and the coaching staff and the organization. And obviously, I have a background with Coach Hackett and that offense, but I'm excited about just diving in and being a part of this group and getting to know some of the names of my teammates. And also, I'm excited about working with all you guys. I've heard a lot about the New York media. And excited to see what that's all about. I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. I think it's important. Obviously, I know the scheme that Hack's putting in. There's some tweaks, but I want to get to know the guys and be around the facility. There's a lot of reasons to be here. Most importantly, just to get to know the guys and put together some fun events to start that team building, which is very important this time of year. Yeah, does tomorrow count? Yeah, tomorrow. I'll be in there tomorrow. Yeah.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.
Rules are made to be broken.
First round mock draft for 2023. And so we will include one trade. And that was the trade that already happened. The Carolina Panthers moving up to number 1, trading with the Chicago Bears a few weeks ago to take that number 1 spot. At the time, we thought maybe it was for C.J. Stroud. That's more of Frank Wright's alley of the kind of quarterback that he's liked in the past.
Right.
Recent reports have indicated maybe that's not the case here. So we'll start the number 1 pick, the Carolina Panthers. Who are they taking?
Well, they're taking Bryce Young. That's no shock. I mean, we all know that right now. It's going Bryce Young. You know, the mystery of the draft really will start at number 2 with the Houston Texans. But, yeah, Bryce Young is the guy they're most comfortable with. And I understand that. You know, again, he's not my favorite cup of tea or what I would want as a franchise quarterback. But he has a lot of the traits that you do want. I get that. So they're comfortable with his size. They love his football brain and IQ, and they feel like he's a natural. And they're comfortable, I think, in the style of play they're going to play here with him, that they can make that work with Bryce Young. But, yeah, they tipped their hand last week, too. I mean, they tipped their. We know, everybody knows it, let alone when Scott Fitterer starts to talk about their training regimen to make sure he's got weight on him and stuff like that. They kind of gave it away on that one, too.
He is minus 2,000 to be the number 1 pick, according to BetMGM. And even to that point, though, we all know it's going to be Bryce Young here. I would guarantee that there are people in that building that think, you know what? If it was up to me and I had the sole decision, I would take whoever, Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or C.J. Stroud. And so kind of take us behind the curtain there on how that plays out, because I'm sure that there are people that are maybe a little doubtful or skeptical that are big decision makers in that organization.
Definitely. Well, you never get everybody on the same page, but you just want to make sure you can get everybody within thoughtful football discussions, the meetings, the off-the-field stuff, the personal meetings, watching film together a little as a group, that you all go, okay, wait, I might have liked the other guy, but I get why we're taking this guy. That's where you just would like to get the organization to as a whole, right? Of course, you're going to have a few guys in the room that go, I wish we had that quarterback. I like him better. I don't trust this. But for the most part, as long as you limit that and have the guys that go, okay, I get why we like him. I mean, he's the man. And so there's that, and they're comfortable with that. And I think, too, again, the elephant in the room here is the C.J. Stroud conversation. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have.
So we'll save that.
They are trans age. I do wonder sometimes whether the left hears itself. So, over in Florida, okay, can I address this argument real quick? Okay,
Let me start with this, okay? Every single person on the planet, every single person on this planet believes in trans age, okay? To start with. All of us think that trans age is real, okay? The issue that these people have is... All right, Benny Ben, what are you talking about over here? I think this was yesterday.
Well, folks, as you know, there's a clip of me that once went viral, all about me asking a young woman why she couldn't be 60. She was arguing, of course, that a man could be a woman. So I said, well, you're 21. Why can't you be 60? Well, now people are actually doing this. They're actually claiming that they are trans age. I do wonder sometimes whether the left hears itself. So, over in Florida...
Okay, can I address this argument real quick? Okay. Let me start with this, okay? Every single person on the planet, every single person on this planet believes in trans age, okay? To start with. All of us think that trans age is real, okay? The issue that these people have is they don't actually use their brain when they're engaging with the question, and to be fair, people on the left has super muddied the water on what it means to be trans, okay? When we talk about what a trans person means, okay, hopefully, if we're still in the world of reality, okay, in the world of reality, a trans person's brain could be sexed differently than their body, right? So if that is the case, you're not just randomly identifying as something. There is a fact of the matter about the state of your brain, okay? When I talk about the trans age thing, when we talk about age is typically a signifier for other things in your life. For instance, when you hit a certain age, you have a certain amount of development. When you hit a certain age, then you're allotted a certain amount of rights when you get to the age of majority, right? So, for instance, at 18 years old, you have the right to own property, to go have sex, to go do whatever the fuck you want to do at 18 or 19 in some states. I think in Nebraska it's 19, right? However, in the United States, we recognize that some people's brains don't actually mature that way. In a way, we kind of treat people with severe mental disability as like trans-aged down to a younger age. We might treat somebody that has severe autism or crazy Down syndrome at 30 years old like they're only 6. You might actually do that. Or we might say this person is age 25, but because of a developmental disability, this person is treated essentially as a 15 or 16-year-old. Like this already happens in the United States where we revoke rights from people or we assign permanent guardians to somebody because their brain hasn't matured as much as like the age they have, the age that their actual body is. So when somebody's like, oh, like trans age, it's so stupid. We kind of do treat people as different ages based on like developmental delays or other sort of problems, okay? However, you can't just say that you identify as a different age, okay? Because that doesn't make sense, right? Age is typically, if it's not gonna be a signifier for like actual like physical development, age is just it's just a number. Age is it's an actual thing that measures like how many times the Earth has gone around the sun while you exist on the planet. You can't just identify that away, right? I've been alive for 11 years. I can't identify as being alive for 30 years. It doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical. It's like identifying somebody with 4 or 5 arms. You can't do that. But for a trans person, the argument is that their brain is actually sexed differently. Their brain is sexed differently than their body. So it's not just that they're identifying as trans, it's that they are trans. Now, whether or not you believe in trans people, that's fine. If you say, oh, well, I don't believe that trans people are real. I don't believe that, I don't believe any of that. Like, that's fine. If you don't believe in trans people, you think it's all fake bullshit, that's fine. But at least engage with the argument as it is. That's the argument as it is presented, all right?
A gay parade has now been canceled. Why? According to Local 10, officials in a Florida city have canceled the gay pride parade and restricted other pride events to people 21 years and older in anticipation of Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill meant to keep children out of drag shows.
How are brains sexed differently? Could you elaborate? The argument goes that your brain has some sort of sex. Most people's brain sex aligns with their body sex. Your gender identity, your gender expression are the same. That's like most cis people. But for trans people, for whatever reason, something has happened to sex their brain differently. Where their brain is sexed as female, even though their body sex is male, right? Now, whether that's actually true, whether there's other like things at play, obviously is still to be researched. Like this is all debated. Like trans stuff is like pretty new in terms of research, everything. Nobody's got a concrete answer. But that's like in my opinion, that is the strongest argument for the existence of trans people. The self-ID stuff and all that other nonsense is just that. It's nonsense. It's garbage. Like who cares?
Pride Alliance for the Treasure Coast posted Wednesday on Facebook the decision to change this Saturday's Pride Fest events was made after multiple conversations.
How are brains sexed differently? Could you elaborate?
I just did. Dumbass.
Lucy officials. So why?
Except not anymore, Destiny. The mainstream talking point is that you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. Whoever says that is a fucking retard, ignore them. Who cares?
the DeSantis administration was cracking down on lewd displays before children. They basically said no assless chaps or displays of dildos. And in front of the kids. And the Gay Pride Parade, instead of being like, okay, we'll fly our rainbow flags and we will celebrate gay marriage, they're like, nope, we're going to pull the parade. Do you hear yourselves, guys? I mean, I'm fine with it. That's what you want to do. But it seems like you're kind of like, is that if the purpose of the Gay Pride Parade is the assless chaps and the simulated sex act in front of kids, and so you have to cancel it to the extent that like a law that says you can't sexually indoctrinate kids affects the parade? What does that say about your parade, really? I mean, meanwhile, other things that I like. The trans movement obviously is going to have some radical ramifications for a lot of other things in American life. One of those things.
The Warriors, this law is probably phrased in such a way that it's going to be like, it has a needless overreach. It's going to be my guess, but I haven't seen a particular law in Florida, but.
Obviously, is going to be the question of age. So, you'll recall that a few years back, a very, very famous exchange.
Heard of such a thing. Machines should obey humans unconditionally.
That's not the only thing you won't have heard of down.
Is this elevator broken? Why isn't it responding?
Why are you worried about this piece of junk? Do you really want to go down there and be a live target for the robots?
But if we evacuate, then haven't we lost out?
You idiots. We'll just steal off the miners. Look, I saw with my own eyes. They managed to bag some geomarrow. This is a perfect opportunity.
Oh, good idea.
Shameless. Still after the miners, are you? Time.
I've no interest in conflict.
Tough luck running into me.
This is our chance.
Fighting is meaningless.
Oh, let's see. Told you I could fight.
This is our chance. Fleeing at the first sign of danger.
Huh? Whoa, what the? Beep, 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 beep. Hey,
It doesn't seem perhaps it's...
Beep, 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 beep. Home beep, beep. What? Beep, beep, beep.
That, and she put it on the card anyway, but she put it on the corner. It wasn't even up there in the 1 and 2.
Right.
So she put it in the corner. So when they handed me the card like this, I got it face down. My thumb is over number 3 anyway. So now when I read the teleprompter, it's got 1 and 2 on there.
Right.
And I read, and the new 2015 Miss Universe is, after we done the second runner-up, and he said, read the next name on the card, Steve, in my ear.
Right.
It's Miss Columbia. And the new, why else would I say, and the new 2015 Miss Universe is?
Right.
It wasn't numbered one more name on the card.
Right.
I said Miss Columbia. Great job, Steve, go in the back. I go in the back. 2 minutes in the back, they're out there celebrating. My boy come up to me, Terrell, he said, OG, you said the wrong name. I said, I ain't said shit wrong. I read the card, and I read what was in the teleprompter. He said, no, bro, the lady, she put the name down here. You're supposed to read that one. And then I said, dawg, that ain't what we rehearsed. So I read the fucking, I ain't stupid. I read the card. I said, all right, I'm gonna go back out here and fix it. The dude said, where you going? I said, I'm gonna go out here and fix it. He said, no, we'll fix it tomorrow in the newspaper. Fuck that, we live, I'm gonna go fix this shit now. Stupidest shit I ever did.
You should have left it alone.
I should have let them fix it in the newspaper. My stupid ass walked right out there
Fighting is meaningless.
and took the full hit, man. I took it dead in the teeth, like it was all my fault, and it wasn't. Because if you say in the new 2015 Miss Universe, and he say read the next name on the card, either one of these names, what? The next name was Miss Columbia. Boom, I read it.
Right.
Boom. great. So when I did that, man, the shit went crazy. I didn't know how crazy it was until after the show, man. And I went to the press conference, and the Colombian press was there. This dude was in my ass, man. How could you do something like that? This has never happened before. I said, hey, man, shit happened. You know, I said I read the wrong name, but I really didn't. But I just trying to fix it.
You bit the bullet. You took one for the team?
Took all of it, man. The cue card lady, her job gone. The director ass gonna be in trouble because he said read the next name.
Right.
I ain't do none of that. I said I read the wrong name.
Pretty good.
So I went to dinner with my wife to Nobu that night. I'm feeling a little sick in my stomach, but I went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, oh my God. Oh my God. It was, I had never seen anything like it.
Sky falling.
Bruh, I was everywhere. I was the lead story of everything. I'd never been ridiculed. A dude, man, that I really liked on CNN, I ain't gonna say his name, TJ Holmes.
He beat you up pretty good?
Told my ass, man. I'm cool with the bro. When he first came down here to Atlanta, man, I took him around, I'm hanging with him. We cool. I'm watching CNN, this dude is roasting me. How could he? Oh my God. That's gotta be the most absurd thing. What was he thinking? I'm sitting there going, damn, TJ. But then a couple other people I thought I was cool with. You know, everybody was attacking. But it was a funny thing, because I just wrote on my vision board, I was asking God to increase my global brand and persona. In 48 hours, Sharp, my name had been Googled 4 billion times. Wow. I was the most Googled subject of the year on Google. 4 billion impressions in 48 hours. I was the most famous person in the world. God had increased my global brand and persona. I sure ain't appreciate the way you did.
Yeah. I appreciate what you did, but you ain't have to do it like
Lord,
that.
You didn't have to. It was a dark moment. That happened on a Saturday. Now, a week later, it's Christmas. I've been getting beat up, man. I've turned down every interview request. I'm talking about every news outlet. I shut my social media down. I was getting cussed out in Spanish. I learned more. All I know is I'm a punta. That's all I know. No idea what it was, but every last one of them, punta. I was that, so I said, let me cut this off. My kids had to cut their social media off, man. They was throwing bricks over my gate at my house in Atlanta with notes on it. That drug cartel was serious, man. We had serious problems. To this day, I have armed security guards in my house 24/7. To this day. They was doing a number on me. So for a week, I was just in the dark, man. And then I just said, man, I ain't gonna sit here and let these people beat me up like this. So on Instagram, on Christmas morning, I posted in my backyard. I was smoking a cigar. I said, Merry Easter, everybody.
I remember.
And that was my post. And they said, he back. Steve got back. And I waited, I came back on my talk show, and in February, I did no interviews about it until I brought Miss Columbia on my show to apologize to her. Because I had to apologize to her father.
Right.
Because her father was mortified. And I would have never done that to nobody's daughter, man. So.
Right.
But then after that, man, like my wife and I, we have 13 villas across the world that have been given to us as gifts from different countries for being the most honest man on TV. We vacation for free all the time. We can go to villas in 13 countries. You have a villa, access anytime you want it. And then I got a T-Mobile commercial out of the deal, the Super Bowl commercial, that year on T-Mobile. I made more money in that one Super Bowl commercial than I made in all the damn Miss Universe put together, so.
But now you own a piece of Miss Universe, Miss America, Miss...
Just cash.
So
Miss Universe, Miss Teen, something, Miss
America.
Because when they told me to come back next year, I said I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Because y'all let me eat this bullet by myself. Y'all never said he read the teleprompter. The company never came out and said, I'm the director. I told him to say that. Y'all just left me hanging. So I'm not doing this no more.
The boss.
I said, I'm out. I ain't doing it. My lawyer sitting right over there, man. He said, I tell you what, he get ownership or he don't want it. So then they gave me ownership. I went right on back to work, smiling hard as hell.
I'm reason you lost everything twice.
Yeah.
In 2005, you had $1,700 left. This was after Kings of Comedy.
Yeah.
Looks like there's a road.
You got $1,700 after you made, what, like $30 million on that tour?
No, we made more than that.
And you got $1,700 to your name. What the hell happened to the money?
It's called a divorce.
Can we blow it up?
I got jumped on, man, but it was even before the divorce.
Right.
Because, not gonna say who did it, but they got in cahoots with my financial planner. And I was writing checks to the government for 7 years.
Right.
Writing tax checks, signing the tax checks, giving them to turn in. They was keeping them, taking the money out the account like I was paying taxes and keeping it for themselves. When my accountant passed, a lady went in the office and found a box on the floor, and I had 7 years of unpaid taxes. And I'm thinking I'm even. And then my lawyer said to me, hey man, you ain't paid taxes in 7 years.
Ooh, so you haven't paid in 7 years plus the interest.
Then I had saved some millions.
Are you gonna do it yourself?
But before I split the assets, she took all of that out the bank, moved it. See, the funny thing, I got divorced in November 2005. But then they went on the rampage to destroy me and act like we was in a divorce fight. We were actually just trying to split some assets.
Right.
The divorce was over.
Right.
It was no fight for nothing.
Right.
It was just, let's split the assets. But you took all the assets.
Right.
And I was stuck with this tax bill.
Right.
So I had to pay 7 years of back taxes with interest and get current. I was in a world of trouble, man. So when I looked up, man, I had $1,700. But that's when I went to New York and signed the contract for syndicated radio. Here come God again, rescuing me. That just gave me a little bit of money. I wasn't making what I make now. I make like 10 mil a year off radio. Back then, you know, because I just wanted to get in the dough.
Right.
And that kept me at least be able to survive.
Right.
And then that was 2005. I reconnected with Marjorie in 2005, right after the divorce. 2006, she came.
You reconnected. So y'all had dated before?
I dated her in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah, I dated her in the 80s.
I thought they say love is like an eclair. Once it goes cold, it can't be reheated.
Your mind ain't go cold. Red hot, poker hot tamale hot. I'm talking about Tabasco. So it's just I got in trouble.
Right.
When we started dating, I became homeless.
Right.
Wasn't no cell phone.
Right.
I just had a house number. She had a little baby. I figured what I got to offer this woman. I'm in trouble now.
Right.
So I just drove off. We never had an argument or nothing.
Right.
You know.
Let's make it quick.
Why did you continue to believe in love? After everything that you've been, like you're telling me you've gone through a divorce and things happened with the taxes and she took half the money, 3/4 of the money. Here I was, thought you were selling your money because you made all this money on Kings of Comedy and you got $1,700 to your name. Why did you believe in love twice? Why did you believe in you could find love again?
Because of my mom and daddy. My mom and daddy was married 64 years. I saw what it looked like.
Right.
I saw what it looked like when it was hard, when it was good. I watched a man honor a woman. I've never seen nobody love nobody like my daddy loved my mom. That boy with that 3rd grade education. My mama taught my daddy how to read and write. I never seen nobody love nobody like Slick Harvey loved Eloise Vera. He'll kill you about her. And he embedded that in me and my 2 brothers. Anybody say anything about your mama, get that ass right there, right then. If you can't get that ass, come to this house, get your brothers, but go back and get that ass. She off limits. Ain't no jokes about your mama, ain't no nothing. That carried me to this day, man. You can't say nothing about Eloise Vera Harvey. She off limits, man. We ain't playing them games. Right. You start that your mama shit up at the school, we finna fight. When they would suspend me for fighting, my daddy said, what was you fighting for? I said, he said something about mama. He said, okay.
He embedded that like, okay, how he felt about your mother, his wife. You carried that with your...
I just saw it, man. I went, wow, that's how you do it? And so
you
I
never had that
it.
before. In all your relationships before in the marriages, you never had that. What he had with your mom, you never had that.
My first marriage, I got married when I was 24. I wasn't the man my daddy was.
Okay.
I was trying to do something he was doing and I ain't had equipment for it.
Okay.
I ain't know how to problem solve, navigate, negotiate. I didn't know how to shut up in the argument.
Right.
I was just losing arguments because I kept them going.
Right.
I messed that up. The second one, yeah, that one right there, dog.
Let's make it quick.
Need another drink. I just said I don't do two, but you got me in here now. You got me in here deep, Shannon.
Oh, so okay, the second one. Obviously, that was the worst one. Normally, after a really, really bad traumatic experience, you're like, I'm done with this. It ain't for me.
I was. Let me tell you something, man. When I got divorced in 2005, I was living in Trump Towers in New York.
Right.
On 48th and 1st.
Yep.
I said, after that, this is what I'm finna do. I had learned about private jet travel and stuff by then. Even though I ain't had no money, I had just signed this other contract trying to get back from that 1700. I said, I'm gonna put bus schedules on my walls. I'm gonna have arrival and departure times.
Right.
That's how many women I'm finna roll up in here in 60B. Bus schedules, arrival and departure times. I'm finna roll them up in here on a continuous basis. I'm finna live my best life. God said, no, you ain't.
Oh, I was gonna say, you about to be Nick Cannon before Nick Cannon then, huh?
Nick is different. Nick is, I know where the drugstore at.
So you was like, okay.
I'm sorry, I don't want to say, sorry, Nick.
You said, okay,
Nick, I don't know where that came from, Nick. I swear to God. It's a Kevin Hart prank. I didn't mean to say that. I don't even know. Did I just say I know where the drugstore at?
You just said that.
I don't even know where that came from, man. See, that's that gift that just fired off.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was the plan.
How did you and Marjorie reconnect?
God said, no, you not. No, you not. You not finna do that. You finna get yourself together. Now, you done lost everything twice.
Twice.
You want to do it again? You want to do it again, or you want to see what I got for you?
You like a cat, Steve.
The day after my divorce, I went to Vegas.
Okay.
I'm gambling. My bodyguard Boomerang on the phone talking to this girl named Sharon in Memphis. He asked about Margie. He said, Margie doing pretty good now? And I hadn't talked to her in years.
Right.
Boom tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, man, I got a phone call. I said, dog, I'm gambling. You know what I'm talking about? He said, no, dog, you need to take this phone call. So I thought something was wrong. So I got up from the roulette table. I said, hello. She said, boy, what you want? I said, Margie? She said, yeah. So I just said, so how your punk ass husband doing? That's the first thing. First thing I said. Because he's a punk ass dude to me. I still hold strong to that one. I've never retracted that statement.
Okay.
I said, how your punk ass husband doing? Because I had heard she had got married.
Right.
She said, boy, I've been divorced 3 years.
Uh-oh. Light bulb go off? You start smiling?
I'm talking about, man, like a head, like a halogen light bulb, and they hadn't even been invented then. Ding! I ended up going to Memphis, met her for lunch. She told me about a divorce. I said, I'm divorced too. She said, boy, shut up lying. Because it hadn't went public.
Right.
And she said, shut up, I know you got married again. And I said, no. She didn't really believe it. It took me 2 weeks to convince her. We talked on the phone that New Year's Eve. She was in Hawaii with her kids. I'm on the phone with her all night, man. Just remembering stuff. Hadn't seen her. Then Valentine's Day 2006, she came to New York. That was it, dog.
She didn't left your side since?
No. And God said, that arrival and departure sign, you're going to take that down off the wall. Wow. I showed it to you one time. You didn't get it then. But and after her, man, I mean, really, you look at my career and my life after her, it's just been a rocket shot.
You credit her for everything that we see Steve Harvey sitting here today you credit her for that. The man that you became, the way you dress, the way you talk, the things that you have going on great in your life. You said, that woman over there.
Because I know what it is. Now, a lot of dudes won't do that, and I understand that. You want to get your shine on, you this and you that. Yeah, but I was that before, and I wasn't this or that.
Right.
I was a comedian before.
Right.
I was a TV star before. So you tell me what the difference is. It got to be her.
Right.
Because for the first time, man, I had peace at my house. When you got peace at the crib, dog, you can plug in your battery pack and get rejuvenated to go out here and deal with the rest of this shit you gotta go deal with.
Right.
Because, hey man, you know, them folks out there, they not finna change. Racism out there.
Right.
It's on TV, it's on the internet, it's alive and well. She would give me the juice and the charge I needed to go back out there. She encouraged me. She told me I was something when I felt bad. She gave me the, but we was at the house laughing. Having a good time, man. If you look at since 2000, we got married in 2007. If you look at from 2007, I got Family Feud in 2009.
Seeing it up close.
The book came out 2009. Miss Universe after that. The talk show after that. Little Big Shots after that. The Judge show. The radio show got big after that. 4 books later. The movie came out, Think Like a Man. All this after that. What else is it? I just locked in with this chick, man. And she gave me a lot of good advice, man. She made me see things in a different way. And it was her, man. And it's okay, man. It's people don't want to do that. Now, I know they tired of hearing me saying, but what you want me to say? Shit, I ain't got nothing else for you. Shit, it wasn't just all me.
Right.
She gave me the mindset to be me. And that's crazy, man. It's like there's a dude named Nuri Muhammad. I wish I had my phone, man. You could hear what this dude said about relationships. It's the coldest thing. He said, other than your relationship with God, who you choose to spend the rest of your life with is the single most important decision you will ever make. Because your other half will your other half will be your better half or make you half of what you could be. She will either inspire you to greatness or reduce you to mediocrity. And then he went on to talk about, he quoted Minister Louis Farrakhan, and then at the end of it, he said, so choose wisely. And that was the first time, man, that I'd ever chose wisely. And it was the best thing, because a woman like an elevator button, man, they can take you up or down.
Never heard of it.
If you get the right one, you got something. You get the wrong one, but it's like a man to a woman. If you get the right man, you can go somewhere.
Right.
You get the wrong man, you off. Like I heard you say one time, well, I was laughing so hard. You said you paid for a divorce.
Yeah.
I said, this dude right here was committed.
But see, I want people to think she was getting a divorce already. I didn't break the home up.
I don't give a damn.
Because you know how people take it and run with it.
Yeah.
She was getting a divorce.
And he want the money.
Right. Right.
What's wrong with that?
Right.
I'm trying to invest in my future.
Right.
See, these dudes kill me. That's what's wrong with this generation today. These young boys today, what do she bring to the table? The hell you mean, man? What do your ass bring to the table? You got a woman that can come to the table that can make another you. What else she need to slide up to the table with? What about your job? What happened to men who were supposed to be responsible? Do you know that it's our job to take care of a woman and some children, to have a family? That's our damn job.
But what happens when the woman tell you, I don't need a man, Steve?
Well, they need to, what? Okay, if you don't, how that's working?
The truth of life and death.
You know, how that's working? Who don't need no man?
I'm independent. I can do for myself.
Yeah, but why do you want to?
Just for you.
Yeah, okay, you can drop a transmission. You can sandblast your house. But hell, do you want to?
No.
If somebody could get out there and drop this transmission for you and sandblast your house, why don't you go get your nails done? I'm not trying to reduce a woman to nothing else. Be all you can be. But damn, who don't need a man? That's a lie. What man don't need a woman? I tell you what. Try to live without them. Try to live your life without women. This ain't about la-da-da, man. This is some bullshit without women. If it wasn't for women, what would you? Aristotle Onassis said it best. He said, if women did not exist, all the money in the world would have no meaning. Dog, women is everything. They'd catch me out. They'd lick, man. But these young boys done forgot it because these women out here, they've had to be independent because they ain't got the right man.
Okay.
But this system of marriage is still good.
Okay.
This system of a man taking care of a woman, that's really how it's supposed to be. All the rest of it's bullshit, man. And y'all need to quit tricking yourself with this new way of thinking. Because this new way of thinking ain't getting y'all no damn well. I'm sorry. I got in trouble on one time. This group came after me because I said Marjorie belonged to me.
Step aside. I have no.
And they said she's not a possession. She's a person. She's a human.
She is. She mine. What is you talking about? She belonged to me, but I got news for you. I'm hers. I belong to her. See, if you don't like that system, carry your punk ass on. Go do something else. And let me know how that work out for you. I want to belong to somebody.
Right.
I want somebody to belong to me. I take care of my wife and my family.
Did you ever feel like you belonged to somebody? In your previous relationship, did you feel like they belonged to you or you belonged to them?
Yeah, I did. My first marriage, yeah. I felt that way. I just didn't have the equipment. I just wasn't the man I needed to be. Did the best I could. I just came up short. You know, I've apologized to her because it really was my fault. I got married too young.
Right.
You know.
How's your relationship with her now?
I mean, we cool, we cordial.
Right.
You know, we cordial.
Okay.
You know, she gave me 3 beautiful kids. I got twins, my oldest son sitting over there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So.
How you got 3 kids, Marjorie had kids. How was the blended family? How did that work, Steve?
Oh, that shit hard. that
I thought you were gonna give me cool by y'all like, oh,
no, that shit hard, dog. They wasn't in agreement. They went bowling one night in Memphis when me and Marjorie first got together. We brought all the kids together, all 7 of them. And all the girls went bowling and came back and decided they didn't want us to get married and said they don't think it's the right thing to do. And they need more time to get to know us. And I'm sitting up here looking at some people that ain't got shit. I'm sitting up here going, y'all ain't got a relationship, a good-ass job, a career. I'm paying for colleges and shit. I don't know how I'm listening to y'all making some damn decisions. Y'all ain't got one boyfriend that done worked thus far. So I don't know how the hell you finna tell me how to live. My sons was over there cool with it. Broderick, Jason, and Wynton, they sitting over there, they cool with everything.
Right.
The 4 girls, total, just mayhem.
Totally against it.
Totally against it. Ain't none of them got nobody. So why am I listening to them?
How did you win them over?
I didn't.
You're like, I'm doing this. Me and your mama, we doing this.
Dog, I love this girl. This girl best thing for me. Now we gonna work. Now we gonna create an atmosphere of love and everybody's invited into it.
Right.
And everybody wanna come into it can come into it. Mm-hmm. And it was a point, man, where like all of them except the oldest one, my 2 daughters had graduated from college. Mm-hmm. Morgan was out of college. So the 3 girls were living on their own. Everybody else lived in the house. The 3 boys and the daughter. And Lori grew up with 4 damn brothers.
Right.
So she was, and we could protect Lori at the house with them brothers.
Right.
Shit done got out of hand now. We can't, you know, we can't watch it now.
No, you can't watch it.
Because I'd have been there sawed off a bunch of these little, you know, but like at the house, we had full control of what was going on.
Right.
And it was hard, man, because they were trying to evolve and get to know each other. And, you know, some of the relationships is really good, and some of them is just, they cordial, you know, but that's just the way it is, you know. And I'd love to tell you it was a kumbaya moment. We had some great family vacations. We've had some great times recently. We had great holidays. But, you know, I think for the closeness, the boys are the closest, you know.
Right.
And then Wynton and Lori is the closest of them all. Wynton and Lori, they like, they merged.
Right.
They mixed, you know. And then the boys, they good, you know. The sons, they all good.
You have all you mentioned you have 13 villas, you have all these lavish places. Where does Steve Harvey go to relax? To just be Margie's husband?
1,600 acres, an hour, 30 minutes south of Atlanta. I bought we bought the Chick-fil-A ranch, 1,600 acres.
Is that where you be fishing at?
I got 9 lakes down there sharp. You got to come down there.
I come down and beat you.
No.
Hold on, Steve.
You come down there and fish.
No, I'm gonna beat you fishing, Steve.
I know that. You know, everybody says.
I'm from Steve. I grew up in rural South Georgia.
Yeah. How old you say you was?
I'll be double nickel in June.
Yeah. I'm 2 6s.
Steve.
I got 11 years on your
Steve,
ass.
I caught a fish so big the picture weighs 6 pounds. I'm telling you, Steve, I fished.
That's some Shannon Sharp mess right there. I caught a fish so big the picture weighs 6 pounds. Boy,
but
I got some hogs down there. Let me tell you something. I got a lake for you that I don't let nobody fish.
What you got in there? What you got in there? Trout, crappie, catfish?
Trout is in there right now to feeding, but they're gonna die off soon as it's 70 degrees. They're gonna be dead. I used to use them for winter fishing.
Right.
But man, I had a guy come through and turn my lakes out for me. I killed off all the fish. I brought in nothing but big female bass out of Florida. Nothing but females.
Big mouth.
So they ain't sitting on the beds nesting and all that. They steady hunting.
Yeah.
I put 400 pounds of bluegill in there. And they just walking around just eating their
That's what I want to fish in. Because see, if I catch them when they're bedding, see, I throw out their bed, they're going to try to get that lure out the bed.
Yeah. See, but it's a dog fight now. Because I got one lake in the back, I don't let nobody fish in.
Why, what's in there?
Hogs. All hogs.
With me out here,
I loaded back then 5 pounders in there.
So they probably like 7, 8.
No, sir. I got hogs.
Oh, you got some double digit? You got some?
Yeah, dog. I got a 12 pounder. I'll show you a picture.
You catch and release though, right?
Yeah, all the time. I got chips in my fish.
Okay.
My fish is monitored. Okay. That's why I don't nobody come back there. I catch you with a string of fish. I'm gonna shoot your ass. Dog, you gonna get. I'll shoot your ass. If I catch you frying
is there any fish that you eat out of there?
Yeah, I will. I got one pond where you can fish and eat.
Okay.
You know, any trout you catch, you can eat.
Right.
But they're gonna be gone in a minute because once that water hits 70, they're gonna die.
Right.
But them bass, my hybrid bass, for my kids camp that come down there, we can cook them.
Okay.
But I don't really got much of that going on.
Right.
You know, I very rarely do that. You know. Man. You got to come down there.
I'm gonna come down there. So that's where you go. You got this big mansion on the Chattahoochee.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your prize?
Yeah, I can't complain about that. That dropped
overlooking
in my
the
lap.
Chattahoochee.
That dropped in my. Man, my girl did that. My girl bought that house when COVID first struck.
Right.
And I told her, baby, we can't buy no house like that. What are you talking about? They just sent me home. Family Feud shut down in March.
Right.
We taped from March to the summer. Income.
Yeah.
I said, baby, we can't do nothing like this right now. You know what Marjorie told me?
What?
She said, Steve, you don't know how much money you got. You make it, I'll watch it. She said, I can put this whole deal together. I said, baby, it ain't the right time. She said, if I do it, we decide to pay. I said, baby, I'm telling you, because I don't keep her.
Right.
That's how much I trust her, though. But you know, she don't do nothing. She don't do nothing without telling me. Anyway.
Right.
So I know what's there, but I don't really. She did the whole deal herself. She found the house and everything. Because Tyler built this house, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what this dude did. When he first built it, he invited me over. I walking up the front steps. I told God, I said, God, I got to have something like this. Can't nobody see you in the front or the back? I said, man. And then Tyler put it on sale for way more money. And it sold to this dude that sold his arming company. And I went out to Beverly Hills and got a house. And then when that was over with, I was going back to live in my house, my other house. I got a nice house, man. The kids grew up here and everything. I was moving back, and on my mama's birthday, I was very depressed that morning, March 27th. I was crushed, man. We was out of work, going home. And she said, I put an offer in on the house. She told me how much she put an offer in. The real estate agent said he will never, ever sign for that. He'll never take that amount. It's impossible. I'm sorry, you're wasting your time. She wrote him a long letter, too. She said, this is not a negotiation. I am offering you this. My husband loves the house. He's been there. We'll buy it sight unseen. If you don't want this amount, it's okay. I'm not trying to insult you. On my mama's birthday, he called and said, I'd take the offer. That's how I got the house. Wow. That girl. And the house she really wanted was around the corner. It was on 17 acres, too. And I was going to save my money and get her that house. She said, no, Steve, you go to work every day. I don't turn no corners. She said, well, I'm going to get the one you want. I said, babe, but you like the other one better. She said, we're going to get the house you want. And she did it.
I'm going to get you out of here on this. Being from Cleveland, obviously you're a Cleveland sports fan. What's your favorite sport? What's Steve Harvey's favorite sport to watch?
Football. Football. Hell, ain't even no question.
Browns your favorite team?
See, they play hard from week one.
They do.
They asses in at week one.
Yeah, ain't no load managing, ain't no...
Soon as preseason over with, hype is on and cracking, here they come.
Yeah.
See, basketball, you got to wait till the playoffs.
Right.
Baseball, you got to wait till the playoffs. I can't stand watching baseball. I'd rather watch some ants build a new hill. I'm a Cleveland Brown diehard fan, man. I've been dying with them boys forever. I'm a huge Deshaun Watson fan. I have no problem with Deshaun Watson. I do have one suggestion. My only suggestion is, ain't no problem with getting massage. It's just you have got to stop turning over. Just stay face down, dog. Just stay face down. Just all be good. Just
on that note,
just do not turn over.
We gonna wrap on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, let's put some hands together for Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
Which is why wildfire.
What was that?
The hip-hop scene of Jet Set Radio Future paints a perfect representation of the hip-hop scene of the early 2000s and its influence on cultures across the world. At the time, artists like Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Missy Elliott, Jay-Z, and Nas were releasing some of the most impactful albums of all time. Other artists like Linkin Park released albums that did what hip-hop does best: invent new sounds and new ways of conveying the same soul of the genre.
4 elements. There's DJing, there's breaking, there's graffiti, and then there's the MC. Top of the food chain.
A deep knowledge of hip-hop is what's always separated Jet Set Radio from its imitators. And anyone who focuses on copying the surface level aesthetic of the games instead of looking back at the history and the inspirations, they may miss this, that all the major elements of hip-hop are present in this game.
It included like DJing, it included MCing, dancing, tagging, you know, all the 4 elements of hip-hop are like right there.
Well, hip-hop culture was definitely a big influence on Jet Set Radio Future. I can say that with a degree of authority because I knew the culture, I grew up with the culture as it was happening.
You have a youthful and racially diverse cast of characters representing the melting pot that formed new music styles like funk and hip-hop in America. So many other games treat hip-hop like a costume or a remix or like a genre to have their composer do as a novelty, when their composer doesn't really make hip-hop. Jet Set Radio Future, however, understands that it is an entire cultural music, and if you're going to take one part of it, you need to kind of take all of it.
I mean, I was in a sort of gang, but it was just a bunch of guys I used to hang around with, really. There was nothing sinister about it. We used to have dance battles and, you know, MC battles and DJ battles, which was kind of funny being a white middle-class kid from the UK, but that's what everyone was doing. That was the time.
Breakout, could you do it right this time for us?
Yeah, let's just rap
Could
a
you do
little
it right?
bit. Let's just rap a little
Breakout.
It had become an underground cultural movement, and its distribution was homemade.
You couldn't purchase albums or records, and you couldn't hear hip-hop on the radio. The only way that you could participate in the culture musically was through these cassette tapes, which would circulate all throughout the city.
Similarly, in the world of JSRF, cassettes are spread throughout the city of Tokyo, waiting for the player to find them. With each new mystery tape, the player unlocks new possibilities in the game. The street challenges that are unlocked help the player to see the streets and the city in a new light and from a new perspective. Hip-hop evolved and adapted to the coming times, never falling behind and proving to be a genre that is here to stay. Although the beats can be catchy, it is the community surrounding the hip-hop scene that have allowed the genre to stick around for so long. To this day, this genre is used as a platform to speak out against controversial topics and issues that continue to plague our society. Issues like systemic racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, classism, ageism, and police brutality. Hip-hop, more often than not, is a genre that is constantly innovating new impactful ways of delivering its messages.
Wild and wonderful music.
Why is the music important aspect of Jet Set Radio Future, you say? I think it's important because it gives you a vibe, it gives you a mood.
It's not just the score of the gameplay, it's the in-universe sound of like the counterculture that the Rudies are listening to and what they're trying to establish. It's mandatory to their survival. Pirate radio is giving them the updates on what's going on in the city, where the danger is coming from and such. So when you're putting together that soundtrack that they're listening to, you're putting together their lives as well.
The station that'll teach you the things your parents and teachers are too afraid to. Jet Set Radio! Now class, open your books to page 32.
A pirate radio station in its concept is a collection of people that decide that they want to broadcast usually a specific genre, a specific type of music, but it's technically not legal because they don't have a broadcasting license, they don't have commercial sponsorship, so it does come with an element of risk. Disclaimer, I don't condone anyone breaking the law.
A lot of different things. There have been a couple stations, not that many. The FCC believes that all stations are on because they're frustrated DJs who just aren't good enough to get jobs. And they aren't good enough to make it in the commercial segments, so they have to resort to pirating. That's what they think, but there have been only a couple stations like that. Most of them are just people, either DJs or regular people or whatever, who have an interest in radio and they want to put on whatever they put on.
Hey, hey!
Oh, you're my brother, by my side.
This is Hideki Naganuma, aka CEO of Funky Fresh Beats.
二人どちらかのわがままで夢が壊れてゆくようで
Hideki Naganuma's the man. That's that dude right there.
If he's listening, hi Naganuma-san.
He's one of the people that Jet Set Radio Future would just absolutely not be the same without.
Who is Hideki Naganuma? DJ Skank Funk himself.
Hideki Naganuma is the composer of the majority of Sega's Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future.
He is an absolute treasure of a video game composer. Not so much as a social media personality, maybe, but I wish there were more composers like him.
Hideki is a genius.
And I think he now has the online moniker of Funky Uncle, I think he calls himself, which is definitely very appropriate.
You didn't know he did make music also for Sonic Rush?
I'm not sure if he's still in-house, but he was an in-house composer with Sega Japan throughout the 90s and 2000s.
Let's get scratching.
In 2001, Naganuma, a musician since childhood, was hired on by Smilebit to come back and work on Jet Set Radio Future.
He also came into video games with an understanding of popular commercial music, an understanding that he has his own personal take on styles like hip-hop, funk, and rock music.
And he has such a very unique style that I think is perfect for the setting and the essence of Jet Set Radio Future.
We're gonna do a song that you never heard before.
With Jet Set Radio, the game was a bit of an experiment. With Jet Set Radio Future, Naganuma came in fluent in the language of the story taking place. He was familiar with the game's characters, themes, tone, settings, and atmospheres. This helped him gain a clearer vision of how to implement a necessary new dimension to the game. Hideki Naganuma masterfully sampled the work he had done for the original Jet Set Radio soundtrack. He then used those samples to reimagine the voices of Tokyo-To, painting them in a futuristic light, rich in funk, hip-hop, rock, and techno.
His brain for just what sounds great as a beat is just all over the place.
And if you take one listen to these songs, you'll realize that this guy is truly the king of samples.
This collage of sounds built a bold, bright, and fun soundtrack to match the game's aesthetic.
Hideki he smashed it. I mean, people love what he put together for the soundtrack.
I really admire that he was able to make two distinct sounds for Jet Set Radio and Future, but also have them echo each other and represent like sounds of the past and the future.
I mean, the way he ran it together, he kind of DJ'd the whole thing. What's the funk one called?
The Funky Dealer, baby!
The Funky Dealer, that's my favorite one.
Can we get a second take on that?
Yeah.
What's your favorite song off the Jet Set Radio feature?
Other than my own?
It's illegal to say your own.
Oh, then I guess my second favorite would be Funky Dealer, baby.
Funky Dealer is a masterstroke of sampling that best fits the action and the vibrance of the game. It's not just sampling to have more realistic instrument sounds. It's sampling because of the edge it gives to the production.
The soundtrack was not only good, it was great. So great that it remains one of the sole reasons gamers continue coming back to this game decades later.
You know, the speed is like, it's kind of trippy because like you hear like, guys. Basically break beats like sped up, you know what I mean? And funk lines, and the way he just blended it all together, it was just super creative. It matched the graphics so good. I mean, obviously there's a reason that this has resonated with people for this long. It was great.
I was able to have revelations about my own music from studying his.
His musical style is like visible or sort of audible in the music that I make now because of how much I look up to him as an inspiration.
The beats, rhythms, and melodies throughout Jet Set Radio Future's soundtrack shapes the environments of the game with cinematic, futuristic soundscapes. The songs Hideki Naganuma composed for Jet Set Radio Future's original soundtrack were designed in recognition of the story itself to display elements that echoed the diabolical and controversial experiences that lived on in the streets. These songs were composed in a way that included samples from activists like Stokely Carmichael in the song The Concept of Love.
The concept of love, just it starts inside and it just fires up you get the tingles in your spine. It's quintessential.
I love Concept of Love. I just think it embodies everything about the game. It was the first track that Hideki played me that he was working on, and I thought it already gave the game a more futuristic sound, but keeping true to the original.
This song, most recognized for being the title song of the game, samples specifically from Stokely Carmichael's speech titled Free Huey. It was here that Naganuma recognized elements of the speech that mirrored those playing out in the fictional world of Tokyo-to. Elements critical to activist movements, specifically to those fighting uphill battles for the sake of free speech, freedom, identity, and equality.
Who is Richard Jakes?
Richard Jakes is a really awesome British composer.
Hi, my name is Richard Jakes, and I'm a video game composer. I've been working in the industry almost 30 years. My relationship with Jet Set Radio Future began after having previously worked on Jet Set Radio. So I did one track for Jet Set Radio, and that track was called Everybody Jump Around. My involvement with Jet Set Radio Future began, I believe it was in late 2000 or early 2001, when my producer at Sega Europe told me that Sega Japan were going to be making a sequel, this time for the Xbox console, and they asked if I could do 2 new original tracks. So I composed a track called What About the Future. And another one called Bok Fresh. And then I was also asked to remix Hideki Naganuma's track from the first Jet Set Radio game, which was called Let Mum Sleep. And by the way, most of the credit should go to him for sort of coming up with the overall style. In essence, I was given pretty much a free range, especially with What About the Future. That track, I was able to make it a lot more electronic than the others, possibly, and it's a bit more sort of futuristic breaks.
I have faith there is a future for us.
What About the Future is a banger. And the first time I heard that song, I started pop locking, bruh, because that stuff was clean.
The beats in What About the Future, they are quite regular, but there's a little kind of skippy fill every 4 bars-ish, and there's a lot of interplay, so it keeps your interest. It reflects the kind of music I was listening to at the time, and it was popular in especially a lot of underground clubs here in London, and I wanted to just take that a bit further, whilst making it still appropriate for the game. You know, it couldn't be so dark that it didn't fit with the game.
Breakbeat is a UK genre at its core, and being that its presence is huge in Jet Set Radio Future especially, I think it's perfect that Richard was part of the Jet Set Radio games.
But when I first thought about the tracks, I think it was Bok Fresh that I wrote first. I suppose I took a lot of inspiration from what Hideki Naganuma was already doing, because he has a wonderful mixture of sort of funk and hip-hop and soul, and he's definitely got a sense of humour, so it makes it fun. It makes it a really great sense of fun playing the game with those tracks. So for Bok Fresh, I took a similar approach. You know, there's some quite funny samples in there.
Bok Fresh is one of my favorite songs from the series, and I feel like his contribution in Everybody Jump Around fits in really well with what Hideki Naganuma was doing as the primary composer.
Let's look at the funk.
His remix of Let Mom Sleep for Jet Set Radio Future is also a big favorite of mine.
I was honored that Naganuma-san wanted me to remix it.
Sometimes, some days, I even prefer it over the original. Kick up the tempo a little bit.
I wanted to make the bass kind of a bit heavier and a bit more energetic, because that's what the rest of the